And welcome to Anonymous Bites Back, episode 115, with our special guest, Barrett Brown.
Hey, Barrett.
Thank you for having me. Happy to be here.
And John, you had some questions you wanted to ask Barrett to start off with.
Um, yeah, no, I can start off with one question. That is about the fundraiser. I've seen it went up to like 30,000 already out of the $48,000 aimed for. But I saw it was all or nothing fundraiser. So I'm thinking, like, what's going to happen if it fails? Is there a backup plan?
There's always a backup plan. In this case, to the extent that we fall short of 48,000 by like 2 or 3 days in, we're already approaching people that we think make up a shortfall for us. That obviously this is something that people know what it is. They get excited about it, and there are people out there who just money away donating it to candidates to fail or candidates who humanitarian have been done. The average American, in the city council race is a high dollar affair. So we can pretty easily make the case to somebody that, hey, we need $8,000 on the road. And so it won't fail.
Okay. Well, that sounds promising then. Yeah, I was worried about it. I thought like it's an all or nothing thing. I mean, it would suck if it would fail, of course.
Very bizarre. I wasn't, I knew very little about Kickstarter until we started this. There are other people involved, our board of directors and our courts, managing most of it. I'm just sort of promoting it. Filling with the details as usual.
Yeah, because you're the founder and you got like a whole panel doing all these things. So some pretty interesting activists on it. No, you got like supported. I mean, hundreds of people donated. So I was thinking like, yeah.
Yeah, as usual, there's people out there who are living paycheck to paycheck, and they're bearing the brunt of it, and that's something I've seen over and over again. There's people out there that routinely carry the weight on these things with what resources they have, and they do it over and over again. And then you've got people out there who have tons of money, hard lip service to radicalism, etc. Onto it, just generally just worthless.
Okay, Tyler.
Yeah.
I heard you wanted to ask something.
Yeah. So Barrett, besides the Pursuance Project, what else are you doing right now?
Just finished a few months ago. I finished the draft of my upcoming book. It'll come out February of next year. It's the big book that I've been kind of planning for years and years. It's coming out from Frost House and Burrell, the American publishers. It's called My Village Defeats. Anonymous is in sociology of Anonymous, as well as things I saw and was involved in towards the news revolution, programs in Bahrain and the and all these tons of contracts. A lot of the nuances by which you fails. What did you actually do?
Hey Barrett, I'm having a little trouble. I'm hearing you. I think you have a noise canceling mic.
Sorry?
Yeah, I can hear you. I can hear you when you speak a little louder and closer into it.
Okay. So the book goes into all of that. It goes into not just some of the things that happened and what Anonymous was and how important that's the case how we can that will bring back old veterans from the ball rolling in terms of
So your book should be out. Your book should be out in February.
yeah.
Cool. Are you working for Vice now?
No, I was writing for them. I wrote for them a couple of times. Early on, a few articles. Early on, column president. This a column device. That would be the management of the school. A lot of I haven't had that problem before. There's a okay, now participating.
You may need to get closer to your microphone. We can't hear it all, Barrett.
Okay. So yeah, so I was writing the column for Vice. I put out a piece called "What is to be done," that makes the case for pursuance, explains the background, explains the situation that we're in, both as a country and as the entire world. And so it basically tries to make a case for why this is necessary and why those people who are, might shy away at doing something different, ambitious, why they should just, calm down, relax, and join pursuance. So obviously, a very important part of this is making it legitimate in the eyes of the mainstream world. And so we've done that in large part by bringing on to our board of directors pretty mainstream people, in addition to veteran Pirate Party leaders, John's daughter out of Iceland. We've got and also whistleblowers like John Kiriakou. We've got some academics, lawyers. We have partnerships with a lot of more straight-laced organizations like Hypothesis, which does annotation software for crowdsourced research and that kind of thing. So we've this time we managed to learn a lot of things about what not to do and what should be done to prepare something like this. Obviously, we've had to learn those lessons the hard way, oftentimes, but this time they're all pretty much being implemented at once.
Awesome.
Go ahead, Micro.
No, go ahead, Tyler. Man, I was just saying. I've been through the page. It's a good deal that's going on there. A lot to work through. Art industry, kind of stuff going on. Music, programming guides. I was wondering about the indent in encryption, if you have that going on with it.
Yes, this is, and as our lead developer Steve Phillips always points out, the best practice is we're not building our own encryption from the ground up. That's something that you're not supposed to do. We're adapting. We're just using existing encryption and just applying it to a very different kind of platform, a very different kind of network. But the end-to-end encryption is obviously a important aspect of this. There are activists, not just those of us in the U.S. in particular, who face all manner of disruption and infiltration by corporations, by these intelligence contracting type of people and governments, but also activist reformers in the Arab world, for instance. It's a life and death matter to them here, and they have to make the decision every day: am I going to just collaborate with the people I know using Signal, or am I going to go on Facebook where I can actually reach a bunch of people and thus be susceptible to identification and harassment by the authorities? And we don't want them to have to make that big decision anymore. We want them to be able to do the kind of things that they need to do to drive real change in their societies without exposing themselves to this vast array of surveillance and propaganda apparatus. Some of which Anonymous was instrumental in revealing back in 2011.
No, when you say encryption, is it full end-to-end encryption?
Yes, and there's there is some information about that both on our Kickstarter page, which our lead developer Steve Phillips has written up a lot of the details about that. There's also a GitHub entry that goes into some of the more specifics. But and we have a audit that we're going to be doing, security audit, in addition to the guidance we've received from some of the people on our board of directors and some of the organizations that we coordinate with, either informally or formally. So it's been satisfactory to everyone who's looked into it. We've had some disputes with some figures who are less actual security experts and more just sort of journalists or showmen who have kind of said there's no such thing as 100% security, which is true. It's also aside for the point. Someone introduced to me a very useful term yesterday. This is a fellow who does security for a living. He calls it security nihilism, when you basically obsess with the fact that you can never have 100% security. You can never know, the extent to which you're being surveilled, no matter what. That's something you have to understand and adapt to, just like anything else in human life. You have to understand the nature of things and work with them accordingly. And that's what Pursuance is really about. It's about taking the best that we can get, minimizing risk, maximizing opportunity, and doing so in a way that individuals and organizations can come together and work out for themselves, beyond the encryption, how secure will their individual pursuance be? What layers of extra security will they have? Will their pursuance be visible to others in the system? Will they allow new users, new participants in their pursuance to have access to a great number of the files that are being worked on, or will they have to spend some period of time contributing first? There's all sorts of methods, many of which are very traditional, very, very historical methods for dealing with infiltrators that people need to understand and adapt if they're doing the kind of high risk stuff where you're actually exposing, serious malfeasance for powerful people. Having said that, a lot of people you're going to be using this. It's going to be more mundane kind of stuff. I mean, we have Bikes for Africa, groups that are doing stuff that no one's really trying to stop. For the most part, they'll benefit from the aspect of pursuance, whereby we have entirely visualized system, whereby they can see other pursuance and they can see how a group is organized and how they're working together and what they're doing, so that they can better find areas of convergence, areas in which they can cooperate, share resources, share information, share skilled people. And that's really a major part of this. And so obviously we always go into the security aspect. We talk about, the whistleblowers and leakers and that kind of thing and what they need. But the great majority of the people using this, I believe, are going to be basically doing the essential work of preserving open societies, preserving free and open just societies. They're just going to be doing it more efficiently here with more opportunities to collaborate and build a formidable structure of civic entities that years from now can grow to such a stage that it can really confront some of these institutions on their own terms. Provide the change that we all know is possible to find a way to do it.
And will this application will it be available like on mobile applications or via web applet or something like that?
Yeah, absolutely. The mobile apps are being worked on in parallel, so that they will be released, I think, around the same time as the main, operating system app. That's obviously desirable for any number of reasons, but for one major reason is that a lot of our constituents, people will be doing so, and the ones who really need it the most will be doing so in countries where a lot of internet access is mobile because of the lack of infrastructure. There's been some interesting things come out of sub-Saharan Africa, for instance, where mobile phone banking, a lot of that was pioneered. And so we want to make sure that people, Eritreans who are either exiles or in country, who are working to protect themselves from their government, with very sophisticated surveillance techniques, that they have the ability to do so. For the same reason, we're also going to be doing a lot of regionalization. We're going to be eventually, as we've established these foundations, making sure that different language groups can making sure that different strips other than the Roman and Arabic alphabets and numerals are able to again use it intuitively. That's going to be a priority next year after we've done the major in the sort of the major broad across the board kind of stuff.
Yeah, I was briefly looking through some of the stuff you had on GitHub. So like, if somebody assigns you a project and you're not active, it'll log the user who's assigned that task. If they're not active, it'll log them off and assign to somebody else.
Wouldn't log them off, and that's what it would do is it would depending on how you set up your pursuance. And one of the important things about this is that there's so many ways to customize every single level of this. But we do have a very simple default setting for most things, and I believe the default, our current plan, is for that task to automatically move to someone else who has been selected to do that. There's a lot of redundancy written into the ideal pursuance or any ideal structure. So there won't be a situation in which, for the most part, there will not be a situation in which there's someone here who's a part of this operation and they disappear for a week and nothing gets done. That the task will automatically move to the assigned person or revert back, be reassigned, or something of that nature.
All right. Michael, go ahead.
I got a couple questions about some of the. How are you going to filter some of this content to keep some people from misusing it? Like maybe someone from a Red Room site who's just using the site to, say, stalk people or bully.
Well, compared to things like Facebook, Twitter, Gmail, the institution of the telephone, the U.S. mails, we actually we're not a content neutral system, as in this is not open to everyone. We're not trying to empower everyone. We're not trying to empower cops or Nazis. And so we've developed a couple of layers for protection by which we can ensure that this population is largely this sort of people that we, as kind of a union sort of organization or sort of almost a political movement or a combination thereof, that we can sort of do a much better job of addressing that than pretty much anyone else has. The way we do that is, first of all, we handpick the initial population. So right now we have 1,900 people in organizations that have applied to participate. We've gone through every single one of those, and for the most part, most of them will get in. Most of them, this is almost self-selecting, where most of the people who are really interested in this early on, just like with early Reddit, back in the early days, they're going to be a pretty erudite, pretty responsible population for the most part. And the ones who clearly aren't, that'll be visible. That's generally pretty visible pretty quickly. To the extent that, and then of course, so it grows by two methods. One is that we continue to populate individuals as they come to us over the years, and we approve them. The other is that the participants that are already in, each of them has the ability to bring on other participants over a period of time, that repeats over and over again. So maybe, 3 people a month. There might be a mechanism, and this is something that's one of those things that's being finalized. There might be a mechanism in which it is visible as to who is brought in who. So to the extent that down the line somebody is considered disruptive, you can get a sense of where that person is coming from. And those people who want to avoid disruptive people, it'll be easier to do so. There's also a rating system that's somewhat optional right now, whereby pursuances can see if someone applies to their pursuance, the pursuance that's applied to can see this profile and see what other people have written about them, assuming these people have worked with them, and that's been shown by the system. Now, there's in each of these cases, there's always other questions that come up, other reasonable questions like, well, wouldn't that be a security problem? Does that mean you have to retain information about who's working with who, and isn't that dangerous? That's why, in most cases, we're sort of deferring on the side of letting the community sort it out, rather than implementing, these hard set systems to trace people. So over time, you're going to have people come in that just don't belong there. That's a fact. That's going to happen with anything. As we lose control of the direction, obviously, as time goes on, and as more of the participants, more percentage of the participants are people who've been brought in by our original crew. The thing about that is that once getting into the pursuant system itself doesn't necessarily do anything for you. You have to actually join and be accepted into a pursuance, you use it effectively, or you can create your own pursuance and try to attract people, but that's going to be very difficult in this ecosystem for people who are really deranged, for instance. Beyond that, this is an encrypted system. We are not in charge here. We're just creating these tools, and so just like with anything else, the web, there's a man who pretty much invented the web is still alive, and he probably has to deal with these questions all the time. Probably his own self-doubt. There is only so far you can go in policing things. Before you start to get yourself in situations where you're going to be unfairly overseeing, aspects of other people's lives, and so we tend to doing as much as we can to make sure the system itself, the way this is set up, kind of makes that kind of thing unusual. And the other element of this, the other side of that coin, is that the people out there who engage this information, people who are generally what we would consider to be undesirables, they won't find as much use for this system as erudite open society people will. It doesn't take that many people to think up a lie and to spread it. That's a operation, not involving a lot of coordination. It does take a lot of people to figure out what the truth is and to disseminate that as a cooperative effort. So pursuance is really only useful to the extent that you're dealing with other people. And people who are bad actors are going to find very few people to work with on it, and very little that can be accomplished.
Yeah, I think you kind of answered one of my questions, but one of my questions was, would there be like an administrator kind of overseeing the content that is going on there?
And the answer is absolutely not, because again, it is end-to-end encrypted. To the extent of pursuance makes their work visible and their output visible, we can see it just like anybody else can. To the extent they don't, we can't see it. Like with any other encrypted platform, our intent here is to create the best tools possible, the most secure means and organization possible, and to do so in a way that we can be confident that it will be a force very much for good, a vastly positive force that sort of has that in its DNA in the way it's structured. That kind of does not attract and provide sort of automatic barriers to the kind of people that no one wants to work with, and that are using this for negative purposes. Beyond that, there's also the related issue of infiltration. That's something that a clever enough human operator can always infiltrate organizations. That's a problem that will never go away with technology. It's going to be much harder for them to do so here than it is in, for instance, the anonymous IRC network that we all used to, or Facebook groups or anything else. Partly because there's more membrane here. It's easy to customize a pursuance to provide levels of entry such that someone can just jump in like Aaron Barr did with anonymous IRC, the non-ops IRC, and start logging information. And so, the extent that people need layers of security, they're able to build them here. And to the extent that infiltrators, whether private or government, are seeking to disrupt environmentalist work, or a journalist who's going after governments or any of that kind of stuff, they're going to find it much more difficult to the point of, oftentimes it's not going to be practical for them to try to do the same things here that they've done, on the streets, for decades, whether it's infiltration or phone taps and that kind of thing. So we would be disinclined to do this at all, the Pursuance Project, if we didn't think that we had a better solution than the things that's being done elsewhere. Which is why we have a lot of organizations that, again, have a lot of skin in the game, life and death activity, groups that do provide medical services and training to conflict zones around the world. Frontline Wellness, which is one of our partners. These groups are satisfied with what they've seen, and that's obviously important. It will signal to other groups that this is absolutely going to be the best practice for any organization, for any collection of individuals who are fighting for free industrial societies.
Okay.
I actually had a kind of a serious question though, because in the case of LavaBit, if you're familiar with him, he was I think Snowden was using it was a fully encrypted end-to-end emailing service and he made the mistake of having the backend server in the United States, and he got a search warrant from the FBI. Would any of your servers on the backend be located in the United States?
A year from now, I won't even be in the United States. And no, none of this project will touch United States soil. We have, and there's a larger answer to that involving the way this is set up that makes it. I don't want to vocalize myself because it's so. I'm not an expert on these issues. I defer to Steve Phillips and our Brigitte JaLulz and all that on these issues. But the short version is, to the extent there's infrastructure, it's going to be based probably in Iceland. And we luckily have a former member of parliament in Iceland and Pirate Party stalwart Brigitte JaLulz, who's helping us with some of those issues. So, but I mean, no one who's serious about reform or just journalism or truth could base any infrastructure at all in the United States ever.
Yeah.
No, that's correct. Yeah. No, that was also going to be my question. Like in the United States, you have all these things about like forced decryption and like warrants, and they will abuse.
Pasta, sister.
So I got that too. I got another question. I've talked with one of you people, and they said they were going to test it first on some low risk groups in the US and in that area. How long will it be before it's like fully operational? What do you expect? Like,
yeah, I'm not sure the answer to that because we haven't been able to do that ourselves. We've been working on this for quite a while. We've done so with in a few weeks, we're going to have we've never really had any money. We've had a little donations there, but more mostly, but not enough money to actually hire like the other special programmers that we're going to need to make this visualized system and also this security audit that we want to do before anything.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a few more months. A lot of the task management back end or front end actually is completed, and Steve has shown off demonstrations of that. Recent one was in San Francisco, where we both spoke at the I Annotate Journalism Research Conference. There's several videos of him online showing off some of it. It's actually been added to quite a bit since those in the last few months. The visualized portion, which is very much the meat of this, the portion that you see, and that sort of in which all this takes place, the Pursuance universe, in which you see the pursuance of the structures. We've just now brought on somebody with a really ordinary fellow with background in data visualization and that kind of thing to help us out with that, to make sure we get it right, or at least to get it reasonably useful as a visualized tool when we launch the thing. Of course, we'll be improving it over time, forever. But so we're now getting the people that we need to really pursue some other portions of it that we want to have it launch, and so it's going to be a few more months. Right now, I think we are saying November is probably going to be, that's our intended release. But again, if there's anything that we're not happy with, that's fundamental to the project, I mean, we'll always push it back rather than just put it out before it's really ready.
Okay.
Shoot, I don't have any more questions for you guys.
Wow.
I was going to ask about the name, the name Pursuance. So you're in the pursuance of criminals and the pursuance of the truth at the same time.
Well, I mean, it's pursuance. I mean, more broadly than that, more generically than that, it's a way of we needed a term that would be, not very uncommon and not something that comes up on Google all the time. So pursuance is an English word already, but it's very rarely used, and it efficiently describes, to my satisfaction, the act of what you're doing here. You're pursuing something. You have a goal, whether it be small, large, really ambitious, quixotic, short-term, long-term, some goal that you're establishing a pursuance to pursue. And so we have a lot more terminology on the way, too, to describe all these aspects. We hope to coin some interesting terms without getting too jargon. But the other important term we've coined is process democracy, which describes what pursuance is. Now, there will be other I know that there are a lot of there are other projects that are kind of like that do some of this in different ways. I've seen mentions of. I'm not terribly familiar with a lot of them. A lot of our other core contributors are familiar with them. Ultimately, even aside from the Pursuance Project, which I hope will be the gold standard for a long time, over the next few decades, there will be a great deal of interest and progress in this phenomenon of allowing huge numbers of individuals to quickly come together, form into satisfactory, vigorous, and sort of capable entities that can connect each other and really take on nation states in ways that unions and activists and all sorts of organizations have tried to do, sometimes successfully, throughout history. We call this process democracy. This specific instance, this kind of procedure. It's a democracy in which, at every step, at every level, everyone who has a association with anyone else who has rights or responsibilities has those because they've agreed to them, with their eyes open, knowing exactly what it is. So 100 people can come into this shared space, and they may not have any pre-existing relationship. They may have different values and different ideas on how to fairly organize themselves. But with this system, they can do that without any reasonable disputes. As in, no one can say later, "Hey, what gives you the right to do this?" Like if like with anonymous IRC, for instance, where you had channel operators who, for some reason or another, have power over the server or anything, ban people, and blah blah. Or someone like me who went out and spoke on behalf of little factions here and there, like everything at their behest. There can be no long and unproductive disputes over why someone has the right to write a press release, why someone has the right to edit it, why someone has the right to say, no, that's not what Anonymous does, that kind of that doesn't apply just to things like Anonymous or Occupy Wall Street or other amorphous structuralist movement. It also applies to institutions, political parties. There's always, in the U.S. itself, there's always, in an institutional democracy, there's always an arbitrary point, really early on, at which some people decide the terms, even if they're getting a majority vote, which took us a while in this country to happen. Even when they do that, there is some structure that was not, that could never have been voted upon by a full majority, because it requires, at some point, it required someone to say, this is what the terms are going to be of the vote. That's so with Pursuance, we are building something that transcends that is more democratic, that actually involves consent every step of the way. And that's something that, as people are searching for ways forward, as these countries, these governments sort of crumble and deteriorate, and some people go rabid, it's going to have a lot of appeal because it's something we can actually defend every step of it. There's never a point like the Electoral College where you have to say, oh well, that's just something we have for no particular reason, or like the English institutions, which sort of evolve piecemeal, here and there, never having a real overriding document other than Magna Carta. But this is something that you participants can say, this is mine. This is something that I wasn't born into, and it's something that not something that a majority vote forced me to ascribe to. It's something that every single person here involved has engaged with full consent and full agency, and that's something very, very different, very, very different from the way things are usually done, whether it be activism or politics or NGOs, any institution at all.
Okay, I got another question then that has to do with that what you just said. Is there any political end goal? I mean, you're empowering dissidents, right? For example, you have dissidents in like North Korea. They will be like against like an oppressive, self-proclaimed like a communist regime, and they're very different from dissidents in, let's say, South America. When all these dissidents start using the system, you will have some political ideals, like some political ideals will become like dominant over other ideals. So is this a tool just to empower all these individuals? You already talked a bit about that, about like disinfo people and stuff, but is there any? Is just to empower dissidents, or is it like any political thing to like any goal?
Yeah, no, that's an important question, and it's also an important aspect of it. So, as we've said, anyone who ascribes to, well, actually, I don't think I mentioned this here. We have this non-content neutral platform. We can't enforce, but we ask those trying to participate that they ascribe to these 4 somewhat arbitrary but still important values that you as the creators agree on. That you are opposed to the police state, however you define the police state. We're not going to demand that you that you oppose the surveillance state. You oppose the drug war. That you are not opposed to the right of human beings to contract with another, to get married, if they're of same-sex orientation or whatever. Those are arbitrary things. There's others we could have added. There's some we could have possibly taken away because they're redundant. But we've chosen those to give it a flavor of what this is intended to be, what it's not intended to be. Now, that only goes so far. We did it as the best way forward to establish some unitary framework where you're going to have some broad agreement, some broad values shared by most of the people. Now, there's going to be vast disagreements beyond that. We're going to have Green Party people, Libertarian Party people who have strong disagreements on capitalism and on the role of government.
Yeah.
But they will find, but just as in everywhere else, they do agree on important issues. If they work together, they can actually get something done on it. That includes the drug war, it includes corporate welfare, it includes crony capitalism, it includes any number of other things. And to the extent that they this system, I think, other than say a IRC channel or a forum, it does encourage these groups to work together on those shared goals to the extent they agree, or so the other ones do, in large part because they're in contact, but they're not in contact. They're working together in sort of formalized ways to the extent they both agree to do so, but they're not at each other's throats all day. They're not in a situation where they're going to get in conversations about this and this, and then fight and break and split up. Or they're less likely at any rate. That's something we can never guard against entirely, but just a little bit of we have a little bit, a somewhat better way of getting these groups together to work on certain things. And we would have done quite a bit right there. Pursuance in this respect is like scaffolding around the building. The building might be crumbling, deteriorating. It could need a paint job. There could be all sorts of things wrong with it. And the people on the ground around the building may not agree on everything that should be done to the building. Some of them may have very different ideas of what the building should ultimately be. Those should be torn down eventually. But what they can agree on is to build scaffolding around the building and to get together and work together on those aspects of it that each of these groups agree on. The other thing about scaffolding is that you can put nets on it, keep bricks from falling on it. And as the situation deteriorates, as it very well might, the West and elsewhere over the next several decades, it would be less than responsible not to have that kind of system in place, not to have a parallel civic ecosystem populated by people who are evidence-based thinkers and that sort of thing, and who believe in these open society values, in a position to coordinate on whatever comes next. And so there's a great room for variety of thought and difference of opinion within Pursuance, and people will generally sort themselves out into pursuances whereby they agree on fundamentals or they at least agree on the aspects coming up. After that, these individual groups will link up more and more to share information and resources without necessarily becoming dependent on each other or losing their sense of independence of what they're doing and what their values are. And that over time is going to lead to a what we should have had long ago, a vast array of open society organizations and individuals in a position to share resources and collaborate, just like our enemies do. Grab another cup of coffee.
You're good, man. Anyone else?
You guys got more questions on the list?
I don't. Sorry.
Well, what I would, the only thing I'm seeing here is, well, you mentioned making nation states accountable. Um, yeah, I would think you'd be looking. You're going to be looking at a lot of legal activity here. Uh, but beyond that, what do you? And I know you want to get to some end result, but how can you hold people like that accountable? We seem to be in a system that no longer holds people accountable.
Right. And that reminds me when you mentioned that I didn't fully answer his question about what the end goal was. And the answer might be clear from what I said, but the answer really to that question is I don't know. That doesn't really depend on me. I mean, there's things I'd like to see happen from this, but my role in this goes no farther than designing the basics of the system, recruiting the people to run it and staff the board of directors, promoting it and that kind of thing. When it starts, I'll be doing a couple pursuances myself to work on prison reform, things like that, police reform, and whatever else pops up that I'm interested in. But the end goal is going to be those things that active participants tend to agree on. That's going to be their sort of emergent goal. And that, again, that's a number of things. Now, we talk about specifics of going up against governments. We have some good models for what that looks like. We have it in recent history. We have it in classical history and medieval history. We have it in Poland with the solidarity movement, which effectively, without force, ended a great deal of the oppression that was consuming the country. They did it because they had people in place. They had leaders who found their voice and found people willing to participate. And also, it was one of those things whereby very few people really supported the system. It was just one of those things that inertia just kind of kept on and on. You have similar examples elsewhere in the last 30, 40 years. You have it in Tunisia. In the case of Western countries, particularly like the U.S. or England or anywhere else, you generally have a different way of going about things. You have a different scope of what people are willing to do and what they can effectively do, and what matters. In those cases, it is like a lot of legal work. This system still exists, and we're not encouraging people to to ignore that. Quite the contrary. I work very closely with office holders in some cases, and former office holders. We're working with, a city council fellow down here in Dallas that will probably, rise to higher office in the next few years, and is very, very reasonable, shockingly reasonable, actually. Somebody who supported me quite a bit when I was first arrested. We want people to be doing the things that are necessary more efficiently and more broadly. We want to make it easier for people who right now, they think, oh, I don't know what to do. How am I, these are horrible things. I'm tweeting about them and that's it. I can sign a petition. We want them to have a destination where they can aspire to go to, whereby they actually can participate in their civics in a way they can see and understand and appreciate and know that it matters. To the extent that becomes evidence to others, we will have large numbers of people joining this system, and someday other systems like it. So there's a lot of individual things, including crowdsourced journalism, including the studies and sort of practice of using the press effectively, understanding its flaws, its institutional flaws, and getting around those things. A lot of things that I've been writing about in this book that's coming out. A lot of things that have always interested me. Beyond that, there will be other ideas that we can't conceive of. And the very other important fact of this is that people out there who are clever, who are imaginative, but don't have a college degree, and so they can't join the Peace Corps, or they don't want to join an organization, an institution, or nonprofit. They don't want to deal with bureaucracy. They don't want to climb the ladder to get their ideas a hearing. With this system, just like in the golden age of Anonymous, and just like in things like Occupy Wall Street sometimes, and other movements in the past, they will be able to really have their energies harnessed, get their ideas a fair hearing. Anyone can create their own pursuance with their own ideas, say, look, here's a clever way that I think will work of this. And people will see it, and they'll participate in many cases. And beyond that, beyond the ideas that are developed initially, over time by individual people, we have a mechanism here that goes beyond, the abilities we've had in the past. Anyone who creates a pursuance or a procedure or a format for activity can copy it and post it to the central library we have. and annotate it and say, look, we were trying to do this, and here's how we approached it, and here's a specific way this pursuant structure, this kind of relationship between these working relationships, how it handled that task, and here's some other things it might apply to. Everyone coming in the pursuance system, rather than having to build from the ground up and think about pursuances all day and study, networks and human psychology, they can review this thing, search it by keyword for the kind of things they're trying to do, see what the best practices is, and make a copy of it, use that, tweak it, evolve it more, let it grow organically through self-organization in some cases, and then put that copy back in the library. So this is a system that evolves on a number of fronts in a way that is calculated to change the landscape across the world within our lifetimes.
Okay. Yeah, I can imagine it is like very useful for journalists, for example, to like share their intel with each other, like in these different procedures, like in secret, encrypted, and it's all secure. Now I know you guys are also close with like the Pirate Party in Europe. So I was wondering, these pursuances, are they only made for like grassroots dissidents, or is it also like meant for these small political parties, which are kind of like minorities in the political system in Europe?
We have two major participants here, pursuants that have done prison time. Myself and John Kiriakou, and then others who are veteran, very radical activists. And two Pirate Party people, Brigitte Jansdotter and Raymond Johansson, board of the Pirate Parties International. We also have, fairly mainstream, organizations and individuals involved. This is something that is intended. We're not trying to cut out everyone else and say, you have to be a radical, you have to be, an activist. This is very much for the well-read housewife who has time during the day to help crowdsource research, or to help organize a march, or to provide legal aid, identify those who need legal aid in regions across the world. It's for the grad student, it's for the academic scientist. There was a great, if you think about the things that were accomplished and have continued to be accomplished by both organizations, institutions, straight up 100-year-old, venerable institutions, as well as the emergent movements of the past 10 years. All of those things can be done with pursuance, and they can be combined in more efficient ways. So this is not just a thing for dissidents. It's very helpful to dissidents. It's very helpful to anyone who is oppressed, who is facing scrutiny, who is facing unjust retaliation because they're a whistleblower, because they support whistleblowers, or because they just happen to disagree with their government. But it's also for the people who are doing the day-to-day kind of mundane, less dramatic work of providing, educational materials to developing countries, or running a neighborhood organization, running a civic group, in their local town that's concerned with trying to establish a better mass transit system. It's for anything that involves civic collaboration, that involves changing things towards a more refined, more open, free, and just society, as defined by the participants. So I want to make that clear, because we're looking for everyone who falls under that sort of broad prism of values, and we want those people in here finding the way that they can help best, trying different things out, not being afraid to experiment and to start their own pursuance and say, look, here's an idea that might work. And so we've tried to accommodate all of that. We've tried to, aside from this sort of basic structure, we've tried to add features that will kind of encourage that, because we know that it's not just enough to create the system and tell people to use it. We also have to be active in helping them use it. We'll have a pursuance that I'll be a part of that will be exclusively dedicated to helping NGOs, helping nonprofits, philanthropic groups that fall under this wider philosophy, helping them adopt a pursuance, create a pursuance presence, better mobilize their supporters, their constituents, get them active and use their talents and knowledge in ways that won't require a lot of overhead or oversight that goes beyond just signing petitions. So organizations, mainstream organizations, they're a sizable part of this project. We want them working with radicals. We want radicals working with organizations to the extent they're comfortable doing so. But the other side of that coin is that freedom of association, which is what this sort of process democracy philosophy is based on, rather than just majority votes. Freedom of association means also not having to deal with anyone you don't want to deal with. And so this is something that, unlike a forum or unlike an IRC network, that's kind of run haphazardly without any real rules, this is something where you don't have to deal with someone that you have an unproductive relationship with. Whereas you can easily find thousands and thousands that you probably wouldn't meet any other way, with whom you can probably accomplish great things.
Yeah, I have an odd question. Now when this finished product comes out of the box, will it be like a learning curve? As far as functionality, you know what I mean? Will it be difficult for somebody who's not really tech savvy, or will it be a huge you know what I mean? Like, will it be complicated for somebody who has no tech skills to use?
Let me put it this way. I designed the system while I was high one night at Hope, and I have no computer background. I never took a CS course. I don't know how to code. I know vague things. I've been referred to as a security expert by Bloomberg Business Week and other publications. But up until, I think it was a few weeks before I went on that Bloomberg panel as a security expert, along with the former DOJ official and a bunch of CEOs and stuff, the girl I was dating had to explain to me what a 0-day was. I thought it was a piece of software. Apparently it's not. Apparently it's a knowledge of an exploit or something. My interest in the internet and computers lies entirely on its ability to organize people. I'm a essentially political and historical person. And so beyond that, so we have, again, like I mentioned earlier, brought on, some people with user interface experience who have very good track records to ensure that this is not a technocracy for the technical people, that this is something in which everyone who is reasonably clever, reasonably bright, can easily use this from the moment they start it up. The visualized system aspect of it, that's a very important part of it. Being able to see and think about the structures and look at them just like a living organizational chart that you can design and expand and set in motion and let it self-organized. That's a big part of this as well. It's something that, and of course, anyone who just has an idea for a project, for a pursuance, they can just create a very simple pursuance, with the click of a button, name it, provide the explanation for what it's supposed to do, and set that out there in the pursuance system and let somebody else take it over if they don't even have the time to run it or the inclination. So as with always, we're trying to harness as much as possible. We're trying to leave as little out as possible while still making this a robust system. So, it's as if we were trying to build a solar collector around the surface of the sun. We're not trying to let anything go to waste. And so making sure this is not a technically something that you have to be technically proficient to use has always been an important part of this project.
Okay. Hey, so you mentioned like a year from now you don't even expect to be in the US anymore, right? Well, now with Pursuance in existence, it will be done like maybe in half a year. It will all be done. 5 years from now, how do you imagine the world to be if all these activists are actually empowered by your system? What is your ideal? Do you have an?
My estimation, rather than my ideal, I don't want to talk about ideals because I'd rather just talk about what I think would happen. I mean, what I want to happen. I've stopped predicting things. It's too hard now. Predicting things is very difficult. But I can broadly say that I think in 5 years we'll have something like 200,000 users around the world, including many organizations. They will have by that point will have refined their individual pursuances, and what's more, refined the degree to which they connect to each other and share resources and information and coordinate, and developed an apparatus, a very procedural, step-by-step, fair apparatus by which to make decisions as a civic organism, essentially. They will be overseeing protests and campaigns around the world routinely. They will be, think about Occupy Wall Street and Anonymous at their heights back in early 2011. in 2011. And imagine that vastly amplified. Imagine, the civil rights movement and the anti-war movements back when people used to go outside and when it mattered if they did. Imagine that within the rubric of something that never demands of you, just go march, just be one of 10,000 people that march, and maybe the press will cover you, and maybe that will change someone's mind. But that instead, says, what are your skills? Here's where you can go. Here's another option you have, or start your own thing. The results of that, we will be by 5 years from now, we will have rolled back a lot of the institutional criminality that's come to a height today. We will have rolled it back.
Okay, that's clear.
Having said that, again, it's going to be a long and very complicated and baroque period. Regardless of, even aside from Pursuance. If Pursuance didn't exist, 20 years from now, we're still going to have these kind of emergent groups. Other people will design them and use them, including our sort of ideological enemies. They'll be using them, again, less efficiently because of the nature of how they do things. But they'll be using them, and they'll oftentimes be using them to advance state interests, to advance a sort of nation-state interest in many cases. Some of them will be doing so for the nation-state to people's benefit. It's a complex situation. There will be, we're in the age of non-state actors. We're in the age in which individuals, because of the internet, who might be too lazy to go get a law degree and do all these things, but aren't so lazy that they can't go online and build up a big constituency and set them to work. People like me can do the kind of things that in a non-internet world they would never do. I'd be playing video games, or I'd be dead of drugs if it wasn't for the internet. So if you multiply that and think about all the clever people that are out there sort of hiding or just not doing anything because they don't care or because it's not worth it, imagine when they're shown, when they realize that it is worth it and that there is things they can accomplish. And they've got all these other people out there who want to do something. They just don't know what. They're suddenly shown what they can do. And then eventually they themselves start showing others what they can do. And they all collectively refine this over and over again. This is something that will evolve much faster than a nation state can, and on our side.
I also have an abstract question, but I've seen other projects evolve, and they wanted to keep the platform free, but somebody has to pay the bills. Would there be like a subscription or anything like that would have to pay to foot the bill for the server?
There'll never be a subscription. It'll never be it would never cost money for an individual to use. There's a number of other ways that we can bring in revenue. Once we've established this, it's going to be less costly than the actual process of creating it is for a number of reasons. But we've gotten to later rounds in grant applications with some foundations thus far, and we've only applied to a few. We're getting serious attention from the kind of foundations that have very deal of resources with no strings attached. Beyond that, there are a number of ways that we can bring in income by helping individual organizations build their pursuances, assuming we approve of those organizations. We've talked about a number of different models, and each of these has pros and cons. Luckily, we won't have to make a real decision on that until later down the line when we're a little bit better established and have more bargaining power. There are a number of wealthy individuals, especially in the tech world, who have been waiting for something like this to happen, just like they were waiting for certain previous movements to happen. And they will be, just like they're willing to put money into a very inefficient process of bettering the world, politics, they will be more than happy to put money to see this continue to go forward.
Okay, that's the money thing then. And in the future, do you consider working with other similar or like other companies doing similar things, or doing are you planning to like stay fully independent? Is that?
We would have no problem. That's another one of those things that We kind of each have ideas on, each of us in the core group behind this. And we've been discussing it, for a while, off and on. And it's hard to say what offers you'll get. Like, you could, an organization that does very good work might say, hey, we're going to help, in exchange for this, if you guys help us do this, we'll, help you do that. I mean, that's very much what Pursuance is trying to cultivate within its ecosystem. So it would be a miss for us not to consider it. Again, on the other hand, we want to make sure that because of the seriousness of some of the work that's going to be done on here, and because of our intent for growth and all that, and for wide appeal, we want to ensure that we're not compromising ourselves in any way. And that's a major, sort of very foundational aspect of this. So the answer is we absolutely we are open to all kinds of things, but we're very, very careful about what agreements we would actually make with anyone.
For me personally, I would think, as far as anonymous, you have a large pool of people to draw on as far as technical skills and so forth, and the activism. But what would you see as the role of anonymous in this project, or how could they help?
Well, there's a great number of people who either were involved in Anonymous back in 2008 with Church of Scientology campaign, or after that and up to 2011, 2012. People who are still involved today in some aspects. Some of these sort of, in the ongoing infrastructure that still exists out there. Those people as individuals, a lot of them are going to gravitate towards this. There's also people who were active, who were very, we did a lot of great work in terms of organizing the protests against Scientology, or do crowdsource research. People who were individuals who did better than the major journalist outlets in discovering and following up on major aspects of surveillance and propaganda well before the Snowden revelations come out. Those people are out there, and many of them will gravitate towards this, especially when they see that the concerns they had that led them to stop doing activism back then have been addressed in a systematic way, as much as we can address it. Nothing is ever 100% addressed in these kind of things. But when they see that the friction and the risks and just the difficulties, it's the day-to-day drudgery of working in a chat room with 200 people, some of whom are probably insane and are bothering you about if you're a CIA agent or not. When they see individual problems kind of addressed with this system, they're going to gravitate back into activism. And they're going to pass on their skills to others. So the people who made up, people like all of us who have been active in some capacity with Anonymous in previous years, and people who are still active right now and looking for, a way to really reinvigorate reform across the world. We absolutely want their skills. We want them in here taking that expertise and sharing it with people who 5-6 years ago, would never have considered the need for online activism. They thought everything was going pretty well. It wasn't. But since things have become so much obviously worse in recent years, at least from the standpoint of the average, moderately intelligent, moderately observant person in the U.S. in particular, we have a wider appeal, and we can bring in all kinds of people to work directly with people who years ago were considered bandits, because they were anonymous. And that's also because, the ignorance of what Anonymous is and was has deteriorated. It's I think people are better informed on what all that was and what it wasn't, and how much, actual civil disobedience played into it, and what civil disobedience is and why it's important. I think those are all things that the perceptions have changed. And so we'll have all kinds of people working together, just like you do in any crisis situation. People set aside past differences, realize that they were wrong about each other. We'll have a very fertile ground for collaboration between all sorts of actors across the world.
Okay, I got a quick question. It's like a follow-up what Preston just said. There is the thing, there's the anonymity, right? I mean, because you mentioned that you don't want too many undesirables, like people with who really don't match with the system, with the ideals behind all of it. And you talked about about the population. So how possible is it to like stay fully anonymous and create a pursuance? Is that possible? Like,
yeah, you can do that because the sort of screening process that we undergo, that we oversee when we're first populating the system with people who have applied to join it, is not something that requires them to identify themselves to us. They would just write us a short explanation of who they are and what they want.
Yeah.
And that's enough for us. And now, ideally, in a perfect world, we'd be able to somehow know who these people are without anyone else knowing, or without us taking on too much control over the process. But the sort of mixture of keeping this keeping loyal vision while also comfortable with what we've decided thus far on that. And so we're very comfortable, and we know it's a necessity to have people who are entirely anonymous joining this. And we'll be bringing some of them in, and then many more will come in as the participants time. The way that that's addressed in terms of keeping out undesirables, a lot of that's done on the level of the pursuance. And so anyone who creates a pursuance and then delegates responsibility and power over it, whether it be a totally democratic pursuance that has to have a unanimous vote on making decisions, or a majority vote, or some other combination of things. And remember, I just emphasize enough that there's so many ways, any possible way of arranging things and deciding things can be implemented in pursuance. And so no one will have to feel like they're doing things beyond their value system, or that's not efficient or something. So the individual pursuance that's bringing on participants to serve in different roles, that's where it's decided, for this pursuance, you may have to be known to them. You may have to contact them securely and say, I'm this person, and prove it. In some cases, that's going to be very unusual. That's generally going to be for very high security, high risk, skin off my nuts kind of work. For the most part, it's going to be just very much like Twitter, where there's people with their faces and names out there, going to be working happily with people who are, for one reason or another, don't want their identity available. And again, it's something that we let the ecosystem decide. We let the individuals involved decide what their relationships are going to be, what your requirements are if you're going to work with someone, or if you're going to work with a pursuance or whatever. We want to have all the setups that occur to people and that work for people, what people are doing. We want those to be the level at which these things are ultimately decided in every individual case.
And you also said when somebody's creating a pursuance, they don't necessarily need any identification. Like, do they need like an email or any identifying information to register for the pursuance?
Well, right now, to sign up, you do have to have an email account to register, to be notified, when the system launches, and then to communicate with us about coming into the system. But it can be a throwaway email or whatever. To the extent that there's a demand for something aside from that, we'll try to implement it. That's going to be something down the line when we've done basic things we need to do. But I'd have no problem with having a different way of doing that. That's just the main way that I think everyone so far seemed comfortable with. I don't think I've heard anyone ask for a different method, because of course anybody can create a secure or relatively secure email account. Then there's so again, beyond that, individual pursuances, there will be different ways to apply to a pursuance, and that's going to be set at the pursuance level by that individual pursuance. But all these things, all these other extras that might help allow people who otherwise would not be in a position to join this, anything that would help some measurable number of people get involved and do their work, we'll be implementing all these things, over time, as we get these ideas in, as we think about them, as people, create new sort of plugins, for the pursuances and all that kind of thing. We'll be updating and adding those abilities, as we proceed. That's going to be one of our reasons for being, really.
Okay, I see your tag is also replying in below our stream. Your tag, Steve, says, since Pursuance is a web app, native apps coming next year. It works in Firefox and it also works in Tor browser. And he says you also don't need to specify your email address to the system if you have an account. All of the Pursuance servers we host will be available as onion services, aka Tor hidden services, and we're making it so the default server installation of Pursuance will also set up an onion service. Just to add that.
With regard to the setting up account email address thing, so right now to get in touch with us, the official main way on pursuanceproject.org is to sign up for this email deal. But there's other sort of makeshift methods that we've used. I mean, obviously there's people that we know that didn't have to email us, et cetera. Other people who've come into our Mattermost server, that sort of thing. So he's absolutely right about that. And then it's, like I said, the question of, what do you need to be a participant later on? Right now, for practical purposes, you generally want an email address, but there may be other methods that he's already worked on and implemented, sounds like, to allow people to participate, to join in, or to sign up without talking to them. They're very valuable, oftentimes. And there are people, inside who work with organizations like the BOP who gave me information on an ongoing basis while I was in prison. Usually because they had some dispute with another higher official than BOP, which happens quite a bit. But no, I mean, any reasonable methods that anyone wants to do to pursue some open society end, any honest, straightforward tactic, that's not for me to decide, and I'm fine with those personally anyway. It's just the ideal. It's just we obviously want people who we need more police with more rights, and people don't need warrants, that kind of thing. We don't want ICE agents using this, and we don't want their sympathizers using it. We want people who believe very strongly in civil rights as established either by law or by custom, or by anarcho-syndicalist agreements, which is what Pursuance essentially is. We don't want people who want to see other people arrested for consensual crimes, for instance, or who don't care about misuse of government power. Those kind of people we want to have as few of as possible. But an actual police officer could technically join this.
Okay, I got another thing. Go ahead, Preston. Sorry.
No, I was just thinking out loud. I'm trying to come up with something.
Oh no, I just wanted to mention something real quick. That Steve says again. He says about the email thing. Like if you contact a journalist over wire, for example, and you ask for an invite into their Pursuance, where they solicit documents, they can give you an invite as a link. Yeah. Then you could open it using Tor, and then you would never have to give your email address. Yeah,
there's all kinds of when this system is up. Later on when it's launched, there will be all manner of ways of getting a Pursuance invite. That's something else I should mention. There will be forums set up for the purpose in which people apply essentially and look for someone who has invites free for that month and wants to be someone who is useful or who has a certain skill that they want for their Pursuance in particular. There will be, a lot of referrals, a lot of people, who know other people and say, hey, I'd like to use my invite on you. You should come into this, either work with our Pursuance or another one or whatever you want to do. So there'll be all manner. There's no email involved. The email question was really about signing up for our mailing list right now to be considered to be put in by us, before launch. That's all that is. Mm-hmm.
Okay, I think actually here you're very serious about this. We will post the Kickstarter thing below the episode so people can visit it. Maybe there is something you really want to say to people listening about Pursuance. Why people have to help you guys out now.
people really have to decide for themselves. I can't use, logic or any kind. I can't make a person value a certain thing. But what I can say is that think about what you would like to see happen, and don't look at the last 20 years. Just the last 20 years. Don't exclusively look at recent years and your lifetime to see what's possible. Look back to the 18th century and the 17th century, the 19th century. There can be, again, great movement. There can be, we can break the status quo. It can happen. It's been done before. This happens to be very static times in the West where people have grown very comfortable. They find it unusual when they see someone taking risks. That can change slowly, and more to the point, even if it doesn't change, we can, if we accumulate people in the right way, if we bring them in and let them work out for themselves how they're going to proceed, whether or not they had the same spirit as Simon Bolivar or Emma Goldman, they can still accomplish a great deal. They just have to have the right tools. And so if you want to see that happen, even whether or not you're going to participate yourself, if you want to see these things move forward, look at the people who are supporting us. Look at the people like Thomas Drake, John Kiriakou, Alex Winter, Brigitta Johnsdottir, Jocelyn Reddick, all these whistleblowers and activists and civic figures. Look at what they have to say about what we're doing, and decide for yourself how much it's worth to you to see a large and growing collection of people take on the entrenched forces that have been resilient against everything else, and then donate.
Tyler, did everything come through well at the stream? We have to repeat. We have to repeat.
I have no idea what's going on. I think something ate my RAM, but I don't know what's going on. Like,
do we have to repeat something, or?
It's not even that's what's going on. It's like the encoder on my end is working, but the encoder on the server is not working, and I don't know what's going on.
Okay.
Let me restart this. Let me restart the stream, and maybe that'll reset the server. Let me stop it and restart it.
Something, right?
Yeah.
No telling when.
All right, we're back on to the server, and it's connecting to everything. All right, we're up on Twitch. Twitch connected. Okay, Periscope went online. Facebook went back online. I guess everything's back on green. Okay. All right, we're good. The only thing that won't. Oh, there we go. Having some hiccups. Is buffering.
I think what I like, what I see you doing is essentially organizing an effort. I mean, anyone looking at what you're doing can see how to organize a plan of attack. It's a very good organizing tool. Anybody can learn from it as far as organizing and what needs to get done, or have things that have to happen in order to get something done, rather.
And then beyond that, when in the system, there's going to be a number of very very all kinds of very specific skill sets who will be training younger people, people who are new to this kind of thing on an ongoing basis. And that's another way in which the kinds of knowledge that are needed if one is to enact change. It'll be very much on demand in the system in a way that's just not the case. It's not easily done on other platforms. That's another major part of this. Even beyond, I mean, we can create a system that makes sense on paper. Ultimately, it depends on quality of the individuals involved, and that was a big task here, was getting people interested, and that was the hard part, which we've gone through about a year and a half doing. And so now that we've ensure that this will kind of organically come to wider attention, the people it needs to reach. We can basically sit back and expect it to grow in a certain way and accomplish, certain broad objectives in terms of changing the global situation, over time.
Yeah, you certainly brought it, a lot of firepower in. I mean, all the names you're mentioning, they're all well known and, been out there long, a number of years. Certainly well versed in what they've had to go through and what they've had to do.
Yeah, these are people who know, they know what it's like to be a whistleblower. They know what it's like to be a political prisoner. They know what it's like to be a office holder, in a European country. They know what it's like to be, we have a number of different knowledge bases here in the core team and the board of directors and our sort of loose network of supporters outside of it. And so, any question that those of us in proximity to the project itself can't answer for ourselves, we can get insight on pretty easily. And so that's been an important part of not just taking the basic idea, is 10 years old. The basic idea came out of an earlier project that I set aside because I got involved with Anonymous and went on to different things. But I've made a few advancements on it just in thinking of it in prison and all that. But ultimately we needed a lot of insight from people like Steve here for one thing, and from others who can tell me more about what's needed out there. And it all came together I think quite well.
Yeah, you did get lucky with the team you got. I mean, I've seen them going crazy with promoting the project. I mean, Ray and others. On Twitter, I see so many of them posting all day.
It's an important lesson that if you put an idea out there, these days, you have the whole globe to reach, and you'll find the right people eventually, and that's going to get easier and easier with this system. So you're going to see, this is the Pursuance itself is proof of concept, just like Project PM was proof of concept for crowdsourced research. In this different way we did it, this is proof of concept for the idea that yes, you can gather very quickly, a very refined array of people in a way that's going to be sustainable. It's going to grow. You can sort of set in motion and let it proceed. Being confident that it will grow perpetually. So that's important for people to understand, when they think about what can I do with this system? How is it possible to do these things? It absolutely is. People have done it a number of times in the last 10 years, and they're going to be doing it a lot more in the next 10 years. At any rate, I better go. I'm up all night last night playing Witcher 3. But again, thanks again for having me on. I always appreciate the conversation. And if anybody of you have any questions, further questions about anything, just feel free to just let me know.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
All right, guys. Take it easy. Good work.
Yo, take care.
Take care. And I do apologize to our guests, or to our viewers on all the platforms. YouTube and Facebook is up. I can't guarantee if you're watching on Twitch, you're probably going to see a new version. So if it's not saying the live button, it's not live. It just restreamed it. This seems to be on a server error. It seems the decoder on the server error got a bunch of jarbled packets and didn't know what to do and said, fuck you.
Do we even know how much is missing from the stream?
About 2 minutes.
Okay.
That's not too bad.
Yeah, I knew there was something wrong with, because I can select from like 24 different servers. I knew there was something wrong with my default option was not the one that was closest to where I live, but was suggesting I use one in the EU. And I was like, well, it's further. There's going to be some latency. But I was like, well, okay, I'm just going to use the one that's closer to me, and that seemed to be the one that is being used the most. All right, it's a learning curve, you know.
You're the expert, man.
Well, I mean, using open source software, as far as streaming, is not the best, way to do this. It has issues, and in fact, I'm using the hardware that I'm using is not up to date, which really wouldn't mess around with a lot of problems if I had up the quality of the picture issue. But there's always room for improvement. I guess there's a learning curve, so next time I'll be using a server that is not um, US based, and our now I'm looking at the dashboard screen on our server, and it doesn't know what to do since I stopped it and restarted it, even though the streams are there. So anyway, we're online. That's all that matters.
Packets are flowing.
Yeah, the pipes are flowing. Let me see, what do we have this week? We have
We got like 2.5 hours left, so yeah, you had some other things, right?
I have about 20 subjects to go on. I do want to. I'm going to go in reverse order on this one because it was a pressing issue earlier this week. Kim.com he had an appearance for the New Zealand court, and the New Zealand court determined that he was eligible for extradition to the United States for his case.
Damn.
Yeah, this is not good. And everybody's paranoid about getting shipped off to a U.S. court. Most likely because once you get charged with anything computer related, the U.S. courts not just anything, but the U.S. courts tend to magnify the charges where somebody that would get 2 to 3 years in prison are now facing upwards between life sentences depending on what they were doing. It's not
Well,
good.
he pissed off enough people where they're willing to give him up. That's what I pick up out of that. Kim, New Zealand, the New Zealand government giving up on him.
Well, that's the thing.
Which
It's like
doesn't sound right.
New Zealand.
He's in a Commonwealth country. You just saw what Britain did. It's all the same. So
New
like they
Zealand
should
has been.
protect him.
Yeah, New Zealand even challenged him on his application because he just got married, and they were challenging him on his naturalization papers because he said that he had not had any police confrontation contact or did not have a case when he had signed up. They challenged him on that because he had a speeding case. He had a speeding charge and wanted to deny him naturalization papers. Because of that, I don't know if I haven't been following his case enough to the point where they kind of overlooked that, but legally it looks like they were looking at anything to try and get rid of him. So, John, you here?
Hey, I'm here. No, I was talking to another Anon. He wants to come in the show to talk about his book he's writing.
Okay.
Should I just add him in?
Yeah.
It's pretty serious.
Is Wida?
No, another one. He will explain about his book. I think he's writing for like 2 years already. I mean, no, Wida, I spoke to Wida earlier today. We should get him in like the next episode. I mean, he's a great guest too. This guy, the link. He's on the way now.
Just 1 second. You guys can. I'll be back in like 1 second. I'm just gonna grab some water.
Yeah. So many things happened this week. I mean, these.
You guys there?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're still here. Yeah, up to GitHub getting hacked. Gen 2 Linux.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was a funny one because the repositories were also tampered with as well. So if anybody has a copy of Gen 2 and had got it off of GitHub, um, you might want to get rid of in the last day or so. You might want to get rid of your copy because I highly suspect that there is some sort of um, well. Just don't be surprised if you put.
Malware.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if you put any sensitive information or use a web browser to log into your bank account or anything like that. If something bad would happen to your stuff, so the best bet is to wipe your Gen 2, wipe the drive, reinstall, do a fresh install. That would be the best. I've never personally used Gen 2. Have you guys?
Nope, not that one.
Oh, yeah. Maybe
They
once
narrowed
or
it down.
twice.
I think they narrowed it down to one day, allegedly the 28th. But I'd be suspicious of that too.
Yeah, it was probably a couple of days before they got off of it. GitHub
Yeah.
kicked them off of get kicked off Gen 2, which is not the only way you can get it. I think you can get onto their website and oh, it seems there's only two people
Mm.
listening to our show, but I know there's more than that on Facebook, which is kind of
Oh,
crazy.
come on now.
Yeah,
That's got it.
that's craziness. That is some craziness.
I mean, if that's true, that's you talk about censorship and where's our penetration? We should demand at least 1% penetration from Facebook. It's like, come on, man.
Well, at this point,
Bird seed, do
I
something.
don't think we're fighting. We're not fighting people. What we're doing is we're fighting algorithms, and this is something that Mark Zuckerberg
Yeah.
was. This is the problem. This is the problem. Okay, especially with Zuckerberg's approach at social media, he's fucked up all along the way. I'm just going to put it out there. Besides selling your data, everything that we've heard about with X, Y, and Z that's going on with them. Oh yeah, also this weekend, this is the problem. Even this weekend, the Declaration of Independence was declared on July 3rd by Facebook, their algorithm, that it was determined as hate speech. So here's the problem: is that you have algorithms monitoring content, which is not entirely a bad thing, but it's a really bad approach because they have a tendency to fuck up really bad. And when you're dealing with billions of users, I understand that there might be a need for algorithms to correct problems and issues, but their algorithms in particular seem to fuck up exponentially. You know,
Well, they're the ones that wanted to be in the business of being your nanny. So they better get it straight. Do you want to be a nanny and do it right, or do you just want to be a bunch of fuck ups? If you're going to be my nanny, then do it right.
yeah, I mean that's the only thing that I don't. I mean, we're in the process of seeing the end days of Facebook, hands down. These are the end days of Facebook. We're also seeing the end times of viral posts. In the essence, what I'm saying, viral posts, I'm saying in the essence of legit viral posts. Um,
Yeah.
Back in
Nothing organic. It'll
Yeah,
all be fake shit that they're putting out.
it's whatever the algorithm or the admins are allowing to be viral. And back 2, 3, 4 years ago, it wasn't this way on most social media and video content sites. Now, when you go to YouTube and you go on the video carousel, it's customized to what you are to your likes, but it's also going to show you um, the top 100s, the people that have the YouTube Platinum or people in, what I mean. It's totally a skewed version of what can and cannot be seen And if they would stop adopting these fucked up ways of determining what can and cannot be popular, then the individual does not truly have a voice anymore on these platforms.
No, that goes back to its congressional hearings. Are on an open system platform for everyone, or are you, Mark Zuckerberg, applying your free speech? Which one is it? Because you can't have it both ways. Are you an open and free platform? And of course, you never got an answer from the guy because it's not an open and free platform. That's not what Facebook is.
No, of course not. They, the fact that Zuckerberg deflected, in front of Congress, just tells us, that it's not open, it's biased, it's siding towards the left. I don't want to put a label on it, but I have to. It's operating out of a company in Menlo Park, which is a highly left-leaning Democratic area of California, and what's going on the back end and the front end seems to relay that they're only going to allow what they want you to see.
Yeah, that goes to like our limiting of our stream viewers. I think it also has to do with something very simple. If they limit our views, we don't show up on this live stream map. So, yeah.
I'm in it.
No.
Okay, our guest is in. I think.
Hey, bro, it's prime time. It's prime time, my niggas.
Hello.
Hey, welcome in the broadcast.
Yo, man, it's prime time. I feel it's prime time around here, my niggas, man. It's just I've been wanting to get on this show for a long time. Starting with the Julian Assange debate.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wanted to see what the experience is like. So now that I know what the experience is like, you know what I mean?
I gotcha. And if you want to, you can turn off. You can turn off that video function if you want to.
Okay.
You can keep it on. It's your own choice, but you also have the option to like put it off. Yeah.
So I didn't catch your name. What's your name? Or what are you going by?
JaLulz, but my homies call me Jalil. I am Jalil Abu Tariq.
And you're writing a book?
Yeah, it's called Sam Gold Experience. Not really much of an experience considering the fact that it's about a rap lyricist who's trying to fight, who once went for fame. Now he's fighting for truth. He had to go through a whole lot of bullshit along the way. Just saying. Dude's also an anarchist.
I gotcha. And when will this book be out?
I don't know, man. To be honest with you, I think it's more of a 4-year multi-generational project, if anything. Because but at some point that book it will be out at some point. I don't know when. I started on this shit in 2015. I think it might be out by 2019.
Oh damn! You better hurry, man. You got 6 months.
All I needed to do is get a publisher and shit.
Well, actually, as we found out, what Commander X was doing, you really, if you want to do electronic copies, you really don't need a publisher, especially if you're going. I mean, if you want to.
Sounds like that electronic copy is going to be a good idea, man.
Yeah, and
I picked up Commander X's books. I mean, I think it's off of that Lulu site. I mean, I've seen that a couple of times. People using that. Seems to be an easy way to get stuff published. A lot easier. Now, is this a fictional story about that you're making up, or is it somehow related to your life and your life experiences?
It's a fictional story. However, it's loosely based on a lot of the lives of a lot of rappers. What struggles did they have to go through? What the family matters. You know, a lot of them grew up poor. Sam Gold came up poor. He used to have a family, but all that turned belly up. Everything that he does, everything good that he exists, it turns belly up. It goes down the drain quick. Moral of the story: everything falls apart. Well, at least for the first 31 and a half years.
Yeah, I think it's a good subject to write on. Like, you don't see that very often, like the activism books from like the Rapper Society, like. So yeah, it will be like it's original.
Not even just family. Sometimes friendships fall apart. Sometimes his whole relationship with his baby's mama fell apart real quick. She loved him at one point, and at one point she just snapped, went nuts. And it's a brutal story. The dude came out with his first album in 2001. He was born in 1975, so he had to be around 25, 26 around that time.
Right.
I gotcha. I have a good question for you because I've been doing a lot of these video carousels and see what comes up, and a lot of I'm not a rap listener, more of a heavy metal guy, but I've been seeing a lot of my generation rap was a lot different, growing up in the late '80s, early '90s, and the rap music was different. And now I'm watching modern day rappers with tattoos all over their face, and I'm gonna put it out there. There's this guy named 6ix9ine that looks like a rainbow troll. Like what do you think about the rap culture in today? Do you think it's really spreading a message that is
I think it's J. Cole that's spreading most of the message, and then there's this dude named Immortal Technique. He was from a different generation. He's late '90s, early 2000s, and there's K Reno. If you can look past his NOI affiliation, he's pretty good. Then there's as for the new rappers, I think it's J. Cole, Extentacion. May he rest in peace. He just got shot a month ago. Extentacion.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, he was he got shot in his car, didn't he? In a driveway.
He was searching for motorcycles before he was killed, before he was assassinated. Me personally, I think it was a hit. I think the Hollywood put out a hit on dude because they found out he's changing his life around. He's breaking his contract. He's breaking his image. We gotta kill him.
Yeah, what do you know? I mean, you don't. It seems to be in the rap industry, you see the creative, the content, and at a young age too, they get killed. You don't see that, like say in country music, or I mean, other artists might die, an OD or something. But I mean, there's a real. I mean, it's like almost a lifestyle. It's like they never got out of their lifestyle. They're still in that lifestyle, even as they're this gangster. As there's this music artist somehow, and you don't seem to see that in other genres.
It's more so about the keeping it real stereotype, bro.
Yeah, I mean,
you gotta keep it real, keep it hip hop, keep it G, keep it raw.
It doesn't seem to be an act. I mean, it's real. These guys are dying doing this. But why is that? I'm just trying to think. What is it? What is it that they're encountering? Why is that happening to them?
Yeah, I don't really know how was his research. Maybe maybe it's the attachment to their hoods mostly.
Yeah.
You can't even make any music without niggas trying to get your bundle. That's what Sam Gold went through back in the early days. Because even though he got famous, even though he got mad fame and love all over the world, he thought his manhood was still being tested during his early days of fame. So as a result, he would start to go beat people up mostly.
Now, I grew up with, and possibly people that are here, in this. Oh, that's a little loud. As far as music can empower people, to move people, inspire people. Do you feel like any of that's going on in the rap industry right now?
I think there's some of it going on in the rap industry at the moment.
Because I was watching Snoop Dogg on an interview, and he was saying something that kind of clicked home, and when we deal with, because I have friends, in the music industry, what you deal with copycat syndrome, where there's one guy or two guys in a genre that are actually doing real shit, and then there are other guys that are just copying it. And what Snoop said, he said that everybody that you're listening, you'll hear the same thing, and Snoop was saying hey, you will never find those kind of beats and that kind of rhythm in my rap because I'm writing my own shit,
A lot of rappers don't write their own shit, or maybe it's because it's the style that they have to run with, or they're forced to run with that style. If they don't, because it's the system. It was used to spread a message. This shit used to spread a message, but ever since the government overtook it, it's been fucked up ever since. Even gangster rap, early gangster rap was there to spread a message.
Well, yeah, when we had NWA and we had back in the day, they had a message, and so did what I mean was a lot of it was violent, but that was kind of the culture at the time.
Well, it's still there. I mean,
right now, mostly it was because of the crack era. Right now, the crack era is over. Niggas is doing pills and meth now.
I was gonna say, I just came from Chai. People still smoking crack.
And fake weed.
And I think
GMO weed. They smoking that GMO weed now.
Oh God. Well, I mean, I think crack would be even better than this meth, man. I mean, that's
hold on a second.
It's all damaging to your brains in the end.
Everything is damaging to the brain, my nigga.
Yeah.
Even government. The whole concept of government is damaging to the brain. That's the biggest drug ever. The whole belief in authority, religion, money, all that shit. It's like that's worse than any drug. All that shit is worse than any drug because it's a mental drug. It's a psychological drug, but it's being peddled by society to say, hey, you're feeling lonely, you got bullied or you got called a fag in school. Try this government drug. You'll get to beat up innocent people, and you'll get paid doing it.
Yeah, it's all true. We did have another activist rapper in this show before, like in one of the earliest episodes, like Steve Grant. I don't know if you know him.
Oh, I heard his music.
Yeah, he was in the show. We actually used some of his music in the intro too.
There's no such thing as terrorism. The only such thing is the terrorism. that shit is touching as hell, man. Not to mention Dr. Death.
He's very active on the community for sure. Yeah.
We also had
not to mention for the fact that he was rapping about Dr. Death. That is the most accurate shit I've ever heard of pharmaceuticals I've ever seen. That is the most accurate shit I've ever heard on pharmaceuticals and big pharma and in the so-called doctors, which aren't even really doctors. They are They are big pharma giants. They're not even big pharma giants. They are.
Well, they're pushers for big pharma. That's what they are.
Not only that, that was something that I was going to bring up in this show towards the latter end was the decline in medical care in the United States, and what we're seeing, and I'm not going to give you any TMI, the viewers of TMI about my family's background, but let's just say I know a thing or two in the medical industries, and what we're seeing a lot with doctors is that they aren't. They're not thinking with their brains.
I got another one.
They're kind of thinking.
They're called big pharma sales representatives. That's what they are.
Some, to the extent, yes, there are
a lot.
There are a lot of.
Not all of them are, but a lot of them.
Yeah, there are a lot of doctors that will push on medications when they come to when they have these pharmaceutical representatives that come to say, "Hey."
And even if they don't push it, they tend to slip that shit right in. Gotta slip it in.
Yeah.
These people are professional drug dealers for sure. For sure.
They don't get charged for it because all the bad shit that happens. It's part of protocol. And all the negativity that happens in the world, they don't want to push it. They don't want to push wrongdoing, but they have to. Same thing with the police. They have to push wrongdoing. They have to go beat your ass. They have to be bad people, pretty much, because it's part of protocol. They are following orders. Same thing with the politicians. I don't think of politicians as leaders. I think of politicians as order followers. And all of them are bad people.
Yeah, about 95% of them are. Yeah.
Yep.
I don't even. They're following orders, and it doesn't take a genius to understand where their marching orders come from.
Yeah, it's usually it's it comes in the form of a checkbook and affiliation towards Wall Street and bankers.
Yeah, with the police, it's like really their power is in their uniform, right? I mean, it's not these actual people. It's just their uniform has the actual power, and when they get home,
not even just the uniform. It's not the uniform may have given them much power. But one thing I do not like is the badge. I do not respect the badge at all. Its smug aura mocks them just as much as it mocks me. Mocks them even more because it's a smug satanic aura that goes in within that badge. It mocks them. It belittles them.
You mean the symbolics behind this badge?
Yeah. It makes a mockery out of them. It belittles them. Tells them they're nothing. They're a number.
Well, in the end, that's true. I mean, if they get killed, I mean, there's all the boo-hooing and the big funerals and everything, but they're just another gear in the big machine. They'll find somebody else.
No shit. That's how the dark occultists and Satanists look at these niggas, man. You're following their orders. They're laughing at them. The global elite is laughing at these people. I'm not talking about giggles. I'm talking about cackles like fat belly laughs, like hysterical laughing. It's extremely hard type of laugh. A laugh like none you've ever seen.
So what do you think about their blue line flag and things like that? Their gang colors and all their blue line flag. It's improper
blue line
use
flag is just another cult flag. That's exactly what they are. They're cult members, bro.
I'm surprised. I mean, and I see it a lot around here, in South Texas. I mean, there's a lot of these agencies. They're flying that blue flag. I'm like, wow, man. I mean, that's just
a lot of niggas just say no to gangs, and that's too much of a far cry. I say just say no to cults, because that's what they are. Is a cult membership. They're rank and file. Same with the military. Cult membership, rank and file. And regalia that mocks them. That's all you're gonna get when you're in a position of a quote unquote authority, but doesn't exist. You don't get no real respect. You're just gonna get phony smiles, phony respect, and a regalia that belittles you and tells you that you're nothing. That's it.
Well, yeah, one thing when you become a soldier, what you're supposed to do is to swear to uphold the United States Constitution, both foreign and domestic.
That doesn't
yeah.
exist. Okay, that the United States is a corporation, bro. The Constitution did not. It did get ratified in 1776, but they got it. But they threw that shit in the trash. Now they got in another one in 1871. They look at the difference here. Like the United States Constitution, the Constitution for the United States of America is a lot much different than the Constitution of the United States of America. They chucked the old one in the garbage and got this carbon copy. Means nothing. It's a piece of paper. That's just a piece of paper in the end.
Well, yeah, that's the way that a lot of lawmakers are viewing it now. That it's just a piece of paper that doesn't apply to modern day society. Right?
The problem where these guys are going wrong though is like, well, if the Constitution is a fluid document, how about your shit?
Yeah,
we could just change that tomorrow or 5 years from now. Every time we get, whenever that gets old,
that's gonna be a corporation just as much. Come on, bro. Everything is a corporation when it comes to the system.
Who owns this corporation, according to you, then?
Oh, wait a minute. That was the 1870. That's the Crown Bar Swiss Vatican contract. It's more than just a corporation. They own you.
Yeah. It's the Vatican, bro. And every politician is part of it, from Western to Eastern. Like Vladimir Putin, he's part of it too. He works for the Vatican. They own his ass.
Well, in an aspect, when you talk about the three world banking powers, you got you got London, the Vatican. What's the other one?
New York, isn't it?
Yeah.
Washington D.C.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, power center. As a financial center, though, I think it'd be New York.
Most of the shady shit that we see that is obvious usually comes out of London, and the underground stuff that you don't see comes out of the Vatican.
Yeah, but you're talking about these mini states inside big states. Like in London, it's like a tiny area that's like a mini state, and the Vatican has the same thing. And they make their own rules, and they're like inside a big country, but they make their own rules with these people.
There is a lot to get to.
Yeah, we're hearing the TV set coming through the microphone.
Hey, it's from your end, Detron.
Over everything from blocks
the TV set.
Do it all through it stayed the course, seemingly backed by the president. He even showed up at the White House for the July picnic yesterday. So
must be really important.
In a moment, we will talk with a reporter who's been covering through it his scandals from the very beginning. That White House for the July picnic is also the backdrop for a big development in another story that we'll talk here tonight.
Hello?
I'm back, yo.
Yeah, can you turn down that TV set?
That's not mine.
Can you can click you can mute yourself when you're not talking with the little microphone symbol.
All right. By the way, that was not mine. I do not believe in what's on that television. I truly do not.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you because you wanted to come on earlier in an earlier episode with Delete the Elite, right? About the WikiLeaks debate.
Yeah, man. I agree with everything you said. I wanted to say the exact same shit. It's pretty much the same. It's just like it's Zionist poison, bro. That shit is poison. Julian Assange is almost like Osama bin Laden now as you look at it. He's hiding in his little cave. He's hiding in his little cave. He's hiding in his little cave. Look at him. You can't see him. He's like ISIS. Somehow you just can't seem to get him.
So I think this is all like one big theater then, like
Yeah, it's theater. All of it is theater.
same as the
You know who else is part of the New World Order? Not even just Vladimir Putin. The Khomeini, Iran. Bashar al-Assad from Syria. They're all a huge part of it.
Well, actually, speaking of Iran, I'm not sure if you're up to par, but Iran actually controls. Even though they don't deal with outside banking system, they are one of the major players in the oil industry. And yesterday,
They have
said,
a banking system.
yeah, yesterday they said
build a banking system.
They literally
Doesn't matter if they got a banking system.
literally
They
said,
all signed Agenda 2030. Iran signed Agenda 2030. Syria signed Agenda 21. Russia signed Agenda 21. Every single country in this whole world has signed Agenda 21. Well, the rare exception being North Korea, but they're on their way though. All they got to do is get rid of the right to veto. You get rid of the right to veto, all this shit's gonna kick off.
Tyler, what did you?
"Oh no,
say?
sorry, I was saying that Iran literally just put out in a statement that they would raise oil prices to $100 a barrel, and they said that this was all Trump's fault." I hate to say this, but I kind of agree with them that I'm not
even the fact that again, Trump has marching orders he has to follow. He has constituents that he's playing to. Every single last one of those constituents are either Zionists, Jesuits, Freemasons, Luciferians, the Vatican. They all bow down to the Vatican. They all bow down to the Pope. Trump is no exception. He gets down, he kisses the ring.
It's difficult for listeners to know all of these things already, like to do all this research into these networks. But I think it's pretty easy to say that big money just pays for everything, and these powerful people, they got a lot of money and they influence politics using this money and whatever.
Not even just money. Big money is just the starter. It's black magic.
Yeah, it's a tool they can use, of course.
Money doesn't exist in them. It's just theater. It's just a weapon. The real weapon is black magic.
Oh yeah, putting occult symbols into monetary value is a little. No, it's well planned. It's well planned to put occult symbols into money.
You just celebrated one yesterday, July 4th.
Occult, they put the all-seeing eye in there for a reason. Because that's the talisman. That they say, hey, this is nature, but we can't give you nature. So instead, we're gonna give you this as proxy. This is the talisman that we use. We give this to you as proxy. We need to make you believe in them. We know everything's free. We know everything in this world is free, but we need to make these niggas believe that the world is not free. We need to make these niggas believe it, so we can give them this. And everyone who has this is everyone is big and powerful. At least the ones who believe in the illusion, and those who don't have it, or those who don't believe in the illusion, they're skinny, they're small. This is how they made it. This is how they created the economy. Well, not exactly how. This is not exactly how they say they created the economy, but that's the impression given. I'm very anti-economy. This economy, it takes away the real thing, which is planet Earth and all of life, and it replaces it with this fake shit. It replaces it. This system is the counterfeit. They give you the counterfeit. So that's how this financial system started.
You don't like crony capitalism?
No. No.
Well, it's fixed. You get too big, they declare a monopoly.
The
Oh.
fix is in, man. It's rigged.
Yeah, nobody rises to the
Power
top.
hungry economy is as bad as the greedy and blood sucking capitalists. It's the same thing. They're both two sides of the same coin anyway.
Yeah.
I've even discussed, the possibility. I remember that one op that I was doing where I was promoting, cashless societies, and there's a learning curve.
It would have been worth. It would work if it were free.
There's a learning curve, even that.
Part of it. If this was an
Yeah, but not saying like I'm not saying like.
But it's controlled in that same way.
Yeah, it wasn't saying like
control.
Yeah, I wasn't saying like promoting like capitalism and this stuff, but there comes a weird question when you've altered society, you've altered people's thinking into that we don't have to produce in order to produce sustenance for our life. Then the ultimate goal is then another question comes into mind is that what will people do if they don't have to produce in order to survive? Will they create projects that will expand the human race off of where we're at? Will we, you know what I mean? Will we evolve?
Or will they create products that contract the human race and its abilities to evolve? They don't want evolution. They don't want ascension. They want contraction. So they can keep you at that base level.
Control. It's a control scheme.
Yeah.
Well, that's all money does. It creates a caste system.
Yeah.
The caste system is a Luciferian system. It's occult. It's Masonic. It's Baphometic.
Well, here's the thing: is that I've learned along the way of studying secret societies and what people call conspiracy theories is that a lot of people who are in the Masonic orders are not aware of what it's all about, and it's not. And this is the weird thing that you'll find. You'll find that you even in politics and people in these secret societies is that the people on the lower level, just like in any caste system, are not aware of what they're actually doing or what's implied until you reach the top. And it's only like a pyramid. You don't realize what is going on until you're at the top looking down to see the structure. It's all done by design.
Oh, what was that? Compartmentalization.
The little guy.
And, yeah.
The little
if you're cellularized and
mayors don't
compartmentalized.
understand what's going on because they get inducted, but they don't see what's going on.
Well, I know quite a few Masons, and what they actually think that it's about is business prospects, and this is at the lower level. This is a good place to get your foot in the door with like somebody else who's a Mason, so I can sell my product or whatever. They're not really aware of the grand design of what is actually going between these weird rituals that they do.
Holy shit. What goes on at the top, I just told you what goes on at the top. I speak about it all day. I may talk about Agenda 21 and all that, but it's worth nothing if you don't talk about the occult. Nothing.
Well,
there's a difference between light occultism and dark occultism.
What do you think about Trump getting out of the WTO and starting this trade?
Again, that's theater, bro. They scripted that. They wrote that. It's all part of the story. It's all part of the script. If anything, they might probably force him back in there.
Well, they did. They did. See, they talked about the Trans-Pacific Partnership and getting rid of that, but it didn't matter whether they got rid of that because they'd already approved the TPA, which was the authority for the Trans-Pacific Partnership. So they already passed that. So they can tell you all kinds of shit about the partnership. But the truth is, they've already done it. It's just theater.
They plan this shit.
They're trying to look like they're doing something, but they haven't done anything. It's like, come on, man.
All the world's a stage, just like the whole thing with Syria.
So, in public, people like Trump are against WTO and stuff, but in secret, they're already implementing all these things. They're
Yeah.
already planning
Yeah.
and for the next candidate.
Just like the Satanists told them to.
Yeah. Well, you saw what happened when he went to Saudi Arabia. Well, this is like a year ago.
Oh, they did
He
the
made-
weird. They did that weird ritual where they all touched that fucking. What was the eye of whatever it was called?
Well, no, that was that came off of what the Simpsons or some shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean these people are weird, man. But see, look at the icon. Look at how they told you that 10 years ago. That was an old show from the Simpsons. I mean, but
that makes me think that
there it
maybe
is.
Matt Groening had a little part in it. Maybe he was doing these subliminal messages.
Hey, Matt Groening is actually a 33rd degree Freemason.
That would make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Who is?
The creator of The Simpsons, Matt Groening.
Oh well,
Yeah, he's high up a Mason.
Oh, there you go.
Doesn't make a secret of it. I mean, it's that it's all over the place, but yeah. Yeah, they know a lot.
You see some Freemasonic shit in Futurama, though, don't you?
Yeah,
that's the same thing. Futurama shows that stuff too, and there's weird stuff in it, like suicide boots and things, and like suicide phone boots, phone cells. So yeah.
I've
seen that.
Didn't they just come out with those this year? They came out with the suicide machines.
Yeah, well, it's exactly like some of these things are very scary if you think about it. Like,
I thought that was the guillotine in the late 1700s.
No, they got these capsules that are airtight, and they have a monitor, and it'll show you like all the things in your life, and then it starts releasing nitrogen while you're doing it. You eventually just suffocate, which is like I thought was like one of the worst ways you could probably go out.
I don't know. That seems kind of weird, but
another thing Futurama really gets right is these human-like robots, right? I mean, the robots in there are like more human than human. Like they drink beer and stuff, and yeah.
That's a robot there, man. You can count on.
Yeah. His fuel is actually beer, but yeah.
Oh man.
Oh, this.
Well, you know what I'm saying is, you remember Blade Runner, right? How all the androids were sex bots, and that's what we're seeing actually. That's where these robotics have gone. Replacing human companionship.
Mostly is because when I was talking about how we do relationships, we did relationships back in the day. Strictly Jesus Christ monogamous relationships. That's going the way of it. It's not real. I feel that the global elite does not throw away shit because it's detrimental to their plan. It's already part of their plan. It's just overstayed its welcome. So they're just going to get rid of that and replace it with something else. It's all monogamous relationships. We're already. The plan was all when one thing succeeds, they grow bored of it and just move on to something else.
Part of if you're familiar with the Georgia Guidestones, I thought the plan was to make the world's population infertile to the point where they would have only a population of 500 million.
And when I was typing what I typed on Twitter, I felt that monogamy was part of that depopulation process, but it's actually marriage that was part of that depopulation process, I think. And after when they shove that out the way, then they're gonna get the sex robots. The sex robots is coming.
Yeah, the polygamy thing and like the polygamy and the anti-conception promotion that is like suppose like the depopulation project. Process, of course, because family life will create more children if you no longer use like anti-conception and things. And
that's why I fought for polygamy mostly because you better chance to get more children, better chance to fight depopulation.
Yeah, no, but they promote the anti-conception in that context a lot. So yeah.
That's why I was so against like like monogamous relationships at the time. I was typing what I typed on Twitter. It was like because I felt this wasn't really how we truly love and care for one another as human beings. But just this two-person lifeboat is actually gonna be an undercover depopulation agenda. And they get and breakups are expected by the global elite. They get them to get people to hate each other. And once you get to hate each other, I think it was indirectly responsible for the battle of the sexes. That's why because of this two-person lifeboats keep breaking apart. Now you got feminism on the left wing side, and you got MGTOW on the right wing side. And I've been in MGTOW as a first-hand experience. Trust me, man. It's a sausage fest, bro. It's a sausage fest. If feminism is like fundamental Christian fundamentalism, MGTOW is Satanism, mostly. Almost like
yeah, but feminism during when women were really oppressed and not even allowed to vote I think, was a good thing. Of course, I mean they have to be equal, but superiority is something else. Yeah.
Well, but they knew. I mean, I think it wasn't it Adam Weishaupt? He said that he was going to destroy America with feminism.
This is back in
And
the
I mean,
1770s.
yeah, I mean
Yeah.
yeah, and they did, man. It works, and I'm like you. I was just like, hey, it does seem better to give them a chance, give them a vote, make things more equal. But at the same time, it's like their plan sure did seem to work, man. I mean, but giving
and
you
they bought
feminism
into
and
it, line and
destroying you
sinker,
with it.
son. They bought into it, line and sinker, son.
Yeah, they know what the hell they're doing.
Yeah, but it's like geopolitical, and it's like at such a high level, it's very hard to understand what in how they are progressing with their ways. So
there was a solution to this to the problem, and I believe We Are Change. You even said it is, all it takes to take down these people, and it's a lot harder to implement than to do it in real life, was to stop producing for the system, and that would take a worldwide awakening to do that. But the second we realize that we don't have to produce and we don't have to be a part of their society, then they lose. But I don't think in a realistic aspect everybody's going to wake up one day, and stop going to work and saying like, why the fuck am I doing this just to fucking put a few bucks in my pocket, a meal, and my life is meagerly getting by. I don't think everybody's going to wake up to that.
And do people really understand at what level they are like contributing to the system? Like, I mean, if you buy a phone,
they are too invested in the system.
Well,
if you buy a phone, for example, it has so many different components.
It's a wholehearted investment and familiarity. That's why they take the way of maximum pain. You don't have to take the way of maximum pain, but they do, because it's a familiarity.
Yeah, but you don't know when you're investing in the system, because like I said, when you're buying a phone, it has so many different components. It's all over the world. They're creating these components to actually build this phone, and it's all these countries being affected, different factories, different resource collecting. So you're contributing in so many ways you don't even know about it. Like even your clothes, like come from so many different sides of the world now, and
I think
that's why I wanted to stick to wearing plain black T-shirts and black pants. Sometimes a chain, but you know what I mean. But it's something simple. I don't like to be sometimes I like to be flashy, but then again, ugh.
Well, there's people that have actually done this on a micro level. There in Canada, what you can do is I believe you can throw they're called a free man. And what you can do is give away your citizenship. And there's quite a few people that have gone off the grid, become completely independent of the system, produce their own shit, their own food, and essentially that is another way to fight the system. They're not.
I plan to do that.
Yeah.
That's speaking of the Sam Gold story. That's what Sam Gold wanted to provide for his little girl, his daughter, to go off grid.
I think you can do that in the United States, but I'm not sure how well you can do it. You think you can give up your citizenship within the United States, but I'm not sure how far you would go, to try and actually do something,
You can't do it in the city, that's for sure. You can't have a fucking garden, and you can't have a little wind generator, and you can't do this, you can't do that with solar, and fuck it, man.
I'll be back in just a second.
All right.
Yeah, it's difficult to detach from these societies, but you can actually what if you get like a boat and you like travel like 30 miles into the sea, like then you're under a maritime law.
Yeah, maritime law. Yeah, but it's technically international waters. That's when you.
Yeah, sorry, that was my mom's, man.
Yeah,
I'll be back, y'all.
Yeah,
it's fine.
Once you get 30 miles out, you can start gambling and shit.
Yeah, you can pretty much do anything, right, under maritime law, like.
No, not really. I mean, I think you would think, but the truth is, we patrol the planet, so it's like all these. You hear about these boats they have out there where they're holding these drug runners and all. They bust them in international waters for supposedly doing
back, though.
We put them on these boats and just kind of leave them out there. That's apparently okay. Because this is America. America. M-E-R-I-C-A.
You don't think we do. That's the problem with us Americans. We don't really think. We don't really sit back and think, or we don't feel, or we don't think about the consequences of our actions. We just do. We just follow orders and do and fuck the consequences.
Well, there's several problems with American society, and most Americans, not all, but a lot of Americans live in this bubble, and they don't understand, truly, how the world works. Where most Americans are far from any international border and don't understand how things work in other parts of the world. America, unfortunately, is a first world country, but has we have third world problems in the aspect of we don't have universal health care. People are dying to fucking get healthy. Hold
on a second. I gotta get to get my pants on for this. Real shit.
Yeah, don't let them fall off. I'm not putting up with that. Keep your pants up.
It also has to do with the attention span of people. Like you get like so many impulses from like advertising and different psychological techniques to like play with your mind. So your attention span becomes shorter, and you're not really doing any deep research anymore.
Why do you think the television was at 60 kilohertz? 66 kilohertz? Because you ever heard of the butterfly wave? It was proven, and I think it was a patent. Was the same frame rate at what the original CRTs were at, and was known to produce hypnotic effects.
It's working.
Well, I mean, it goes back to old times. That's. It's the same thing that we used to do, as cavemen and cave people. That we would stare at the fire. It would have this hypnotic effect. The same thing with the television set.
Yeah, and they do actually use that, like in they openly even admit that, like in cinema movies and stuff. They put in like these images that make you buy stuff.
Subliminal.
I just got my necklace, and now I'm ready to spit some truth right here. I'm going to say this right now about this whole healthcare thing. Healthcare to me is just another big pharma scam. There is no health in their care. The whole point is to keep you sick, to keep you addicted, and to keep you paying.
Well, yeah, that's essentially true, and I talked about this on another show where there's a group out there in Oakland, California, which are doing the CISPR. They're doing the do-it-yourself CISPR machine where they got to cease and keep in mind these activists, they call themselves biohackers, got a cease and desist from the Food and Drug Administration because they were selling the CRISPR machines and all the stuff you need to alter DNA for a home kit. And these people are trying to develop cures to medical problems that we can't deal with medications, which are real. There is some real therapy. Yeah.
Actual cures for something that the Food and Drug Administration was not really built to do. We're here to build cures. It's up to us to build cures to help sick kids. It's up to us to do what we need to do to help our communities. It's all up to us. It's all up to us. And those hackers actually were doing a good job. The onus is on all of us as individual people.
Yeah, we're seeing.
What's the system gonna do?
And now
Nothing. Ain't gonna do shit. So,
yeah, we're seeing the FDA move into monopoly. I was talking about this on the other show. Is Knodell is now going to be a big pharma medication, something that we've known in the activist community and people that are that are into the marijuana field, the medical marijuana field, have known for a long time is that CBD does have this effect on cancer, and it also has an effect. It doesn't necessarily rid yourself of body cancer. It will shrink cancerous cells, and it also has this effect on peri-mal and grand mal seizures. That it also stops the symptoms of that without all instead of using the standard medications that are out there like they use phenobarbital and they use other even the non-narcotic shit does have some toxicity along with it, but you could take CBD all day and not have a toxic effect. Now Big Pharma comes along with this natural cure and wants you to pay for it when it's just a fucking plant, and anybody who has some basic chemistry knowledge can do this in their own home for practically nothing. Why the fuck would we pay fucking $1,200-$1,300 a month for something?
Yeah. Pharma not only wants to spread the Satanistic mental. Capitalism and communism is Satanism, pretty much. That's all that both of them are. And for one thing, it's because they don't want independent people. They don't want that shit. That doesn't help them. They don't want self-sufficient people. It doesn't help them.
Well, they can't make a buck off it.
That's
Their
interest.
They have to, in the fake way that they do things, they have to create something that's already there, and tweak it so that they're now in control.
Not tweak it. Yeah. Pollute it. Pervert it.
Yeah, they have to do that.
All over it.
Blah blah blah. But it's all fake, because you could do that naturally. You don't need their fake shit.
We could all everything. We go back to living free. Everything will be free if we just go back to living naturally. And speaking of going off grid, let's touch back on the Sam Gold story a little bit. The whole going off grid and being completely independent from the system, that's what Sam Gold was trying to do for his daughter. His daughter, who's off grid right now. That's why Sam Gold wanted to provide so that he could get his kid off grid. He took his daughter out of public school. She didn't drop out. She didn't get expelled. He took her out of there, out of that place, because he wanted his daughter to be self-sufficient. Her and whoever the hell she might be with someday. I don't know. She don't know, but
Yeah, we've had people try, within our community, people that we know that have tried to, accomplish this, but they realized,
You're not allowed.
Well, not only that, there was paperwork and red tape that, in order to get truly off grid, you needed to have some initial money, like physical currency, to get the resources, unless to get to be completely off grid, and that was a big deterrent. Um, but I imagine if you had an army of smart minds who could produce everything themselves, you could probably do it on your own. But you gotta have the right stuff. You know what I mean?
And Sam Gold got the right shit for his daughter. He did not want his kid participating in this system. He did not want that. And that is good parenting. That is being a good parent. That's why he wanted to make it in the industry. Or he went independent in his rap shit. And he made a whole lot more fake money than he did working with Island Def Jam Music Group. His friend Jimmy Mack had a label called Full Circle in '99, but around the mid to end of '99, that label, that deal upstream to Universal Records. That's the late. There's a difference between Universal Records and Universal Music Group. The Universal Records was a label that was started in like 93, 94, 95, if I'm correct, and it went defunct in 2005. And he also got Jimmy Mack also got a deal with Island Def Jam Music Group. And that's how Sam Gold creation. That Jimmy Mack shot that dude up to the big time. That dude, this Jimmy Mack dude, the gangster rapper that Sam Gold is close friends with, he shot Sam Gold up to the big time. It was all his doing. Jimmy Mack created this dude. He created his career. He made him something. And Sam Gold always likes to pay him back in kind. But, there was this label that in Zuron that Universal Records, Universal Music Group, UMG, and Island Def Jam Music Group was distributing for, and that was Amp Entertainment. It only lasted a year and a half. A year or 2.5. It started out. That label faded just like the Dreamcast. Just like the Dreamcast, just faded. And so, before they were going to release his album, the not Island Def Jam Music, Amp Entertainment was going to close its doors because they were losing a lot of money. The economy had already written them off. There were Sam Gold and his crew were producing great albums on that label. That label just ran out of money, and it just discontinued very early before Sam Gold's album came out. And since then, Sam Gold said, fuck labels, and followed his dream and ran an indie.
Yeah, but this does go back to what Tyler said. Like, if you want to do that yourself, you do need some money to do that. And if you want to like be completely independent from the state, you need some money, or you need other people wanting to do the same, and you need to like share all the costs between like a small group of people. Like,
you remember our friend? He tried it. It was remember you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, yeah,
all sorts of problems.
Yeah, like he was trying it. I can admire him for at least trying it, but yeah, it's very difficult.
The Swiss Beats, this song and shit called Money Cash Hoes. He renamed it Money Cash Sickness. This is a Swiss Beats beat from way back in 98, 99. And this was when he was first got signed to Universal. Island Def Jam music. This is when he first got signed. I'll show you the beats if you want to. It's called Swiss Beats, Money, Cash, Hoes. The instrumental. I listen to instrumentals a lot, so I can rap to them. I'm a wannabe MC. I wanna be. I'm not an actual one. An actual MC is out there showing his talent. I'm not the one doing that. That's why I call myself a wannabe MC. And I'm real about being a wannabe.
I got a question for you. I'm not sure if you're familiar
JaLulz Abu Tariq.
with cryptocurrency as being an alternate platform to fight the NWO and the global elite. And there's some controversy. There's some controversy into
that shit again. It's fucking theater.
There's some I was gonna say because Satoshi, the guy Satoshi is not a real person. So in essence, it was thrown out there that this is the way that we could find the elite banking system, just to get off of it. But some people see it two ways. I mean, how do you see it?
The cryptocurrency, the Bitcoin, is pushing the new world order. Do you see? Did anyone see the bald eagle and the number 10 coin on it? That represents the Bitcoin. That is going to be the new currency for the new world order, if not the Amero. If the Amero goes out of style.
Well, the Amero was banned. It was abandoned after the Bush administration. That kind of went nowhere. But they were thinking of, what I have seen is countries starting adopting cryptocurrency, especially like Venezuela, because that whole
it's pushing the new world order.
Well,
That's
yeah, I have
what
to agree there.
Bitcoin is, and that's what Bitcoin is doing.
Why would you want to? Yeah, why do you want a digital currency that has a blockchain that tracks everything you do? Why would you want to?
Well, yeah, that's my question. Why would you want that shit? I don't want to get tracked. Oh,
Can't we have
it's not paper. Oh yes, so it's not paper. It's just because it's not talisman style money that has occultic symbols, that makes it all better, right? They're fighting the new world order. They're fighting the global elite. Yeah.
I mean, regular cash is better than that because it doesn't have anything to track you with. You're anonymous with that. A fucking Bitcoin, I mean, it's all tracked. I don't get it. Why would you want to be tracked?
They're already tracking you with the paper currency. They're already tracking your spirit. With the Bitcoin, they can track the whole thing.
Yeah, but there's one thing
with the paper money, with that dark occult sign, with the all-seeing eye, which was our symbol, but they perverted it and they polluted it and they disintegrated it and they made it associated with the dark rules.
Yeah, but there's one thing that Bitcoin supporters have like one thing that says like we're not attached to the old system. That is, it doesn't need any banks to function.
They're gonna don't worry. They're gonna build a one world bank.
Well,
they're gonna use the Bitcoin to do it.
This summer, what was it? God. What's
it's still all capitalism. It's all corporatism.
You have to buy Bitcoin with Federal Reserve notes. They still got you, man. They got you.
Yeah, what you think that the Bitcoin is gonna save you? Bitcoin's gonna save us all, son. There's no saviors. Save yourself.
Preston, but you could state that you're putting Federal Reserve notes in the Bitcoin system, but if you can actually withdraw Bitcoin, you would not need these federal notes anymore. You only put it in the system.
Well, you needed them twice. So you had to have about 20 million to initially start the whole Bitcoin to have the pool to start with, and then everybody that participates in the system, they have to use their Federal Reserve notes to buy Bitcoin. So it's like, okay, well, you eventually get to Bitcoin, and you have some mechanism for, allegedly an anonymous exchange, but did you really have to go through all that? I mean, to do that, I just that's where I disagree. And you're not getting away from Federal Reserve notes. You're using Federal Reserve notes to buy Bitcoin.
Yeah, I'm no fan of Bitcoin either. I mean,
I just
I was reason that if you change the name to Chipcoin, everyone would be scared of it. So it's that simple. Like you call it Chipcoin, and it's the same thing.
Well,
and everyone would be
the only
scared.
people
It's
that are really off the Bitcoin with the Federal Reserve notes are the miners. But the miners are another mule, as we would say, as on the regular banking system, as the peasants, producing something. Just doing the only thing they're doing is making use of Joe Schmo's computer hash power and using it as a math machine to hopefully get that little tidbit. Just reach like a mouse on a machine, like a mouse chasing the cheese, on a wheel,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the Bitcoin is the wheel then. Yeah.
Here's the other thing: the amount of power it takes to make transactions with Bitcoin. I mean, if you scale it up, there's not enough electricity on the planet to handle a planet-wide Bitcoin system. You can't get there like that. It's extremely wasteful because once a paper note, you use a certain amount of energy to create the ink and put it on the paper and create the paper and all that, and then you're done. You have a note that gets passed around, and it doesn't take any power for the transaction. See, that's another big flaw in the Bitcoin system. This continuing energy that's required just to have transactions.
You want to know where the biggest mining operation is?
And the Bitcoin is still Illuminati controlled, bro.
Iceland.
Oh, come on now.
Seriously.
You know that's not true.
It's the
bro.
biggest. Iceland has two warehouses.
Illuminati controlled as every other country.
Iceland is a strange place. I mean, they jail bankers, and yet they're still very, left wing, socialist. I mean, I can't quite figure them out. I'm glad they jail bankers. Don't get me wrong. I can't quite get there in their mindset, but I'm glad they do it. They're different.
Yeah.
Yeah, Iceland got like a premium position in this world government thing because they got like enough resources to be self-sustaining. So yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, I'm enjoying all these niggas, man. I'm enjoying y'all, bro. Because it's funny, man. It's funny, man. It's sad they think that money is going to save us. It's sad that niggas, we think that money is going to save us. Whether it be paper currency or Bitcoin, bro.
Yeah,
that's all construct and illusion too.
Yeah, it's true, but
Bitcoin.
Resources.
You're gonna eat Bitcoin. You're gonna clothe your kids with Bitcoin.
Yeah, but that's exactly what the elite
Bitcoin.
With Agenda 21, the elite also, they want a resource-based society. So they want this fake thing to collapse. They want this resource-based society. And if you think like the resources are everything, you're also feeding into this Agenda 21 plan. Because that's what these wars are about. They're like the wars in Afghanistan for lithium or the wars in Iraq for oil. These people know their money.
Just all wars, period. The war on all these wars, not even just war for resources. They're Illuminati waging war against the citizens. And they're using the dictators to do so. It's the global elite, the Illuminati, these Satanists, these dark occultists. I think that they are waging war on the people, on the average, everyday people. And these Satanist Illuminati are going to use their master, use these puppet dictators to do this, to spread and to bring out the holy war.
Yeah, it's the great
Just
game.
Like,
Megiddo.
Divide and conquer.
Yeah, Megiddo.
All kings are puppets.
That's a, I always said that I would know that I would know when shit has gone to hell when I see that war has broke out in Megiddo. You know,
Yeah, man, most people are going to miss it. They're going to go, oh,
they're,
come on, Tyler.
they're gonna. Most people don't even.
Cut it out, man.
It's mostly, again, people always like to point at, oh, war, but they're already waging war against people.
Yeah, they don't make any. They make a lot more money off of war than they do peace. That's for sure.
They're already waging war against the people in the countries. I don't mean the leaders. I mean the average, everyday folk.
Mm-hmm. Well, here's the thing about it.
Third world countries. They use Saddam Hussein to do that in Iraq. They're using Bashar al-Assad to do that in Syria. And Assad is just going along with it like a little puppet. Going along with it. Just jerking that New World Order dick. And he's not only a ring kisser, he's a ring licker. So he licks the ring too. He is the knight of the Grand Order of Francis I. I don't know how you pronounce it, but he was knighted into 6 papal orders. 6.
Well, you got to remember the way we do business. Just because you were a friend 5 years ago doesn't mean you're an enemy today.
Yeah.
Times change. You had Rumsfeld over there shaking Saddam's hand. They were big friends, selling him nerve gas. And then the moment he uses it, you're the bad guy, right? I mean, it's all a setup, man. Here's the other thing. You've spent more money in Iraq than there is oil in the ground. You've wasted money because you could have bought that oil from them. You've already spent all that money. And even if you took Iraq, you can't get it back. It's retarded. It's just a waste.
Yeah.
Doesn't even make sense. You're not protecting anything. You're just fucking up. Fucking around.
They're all gonna fuck up. Again, it's all theater.
Like you say, yeah, it's all theater. It's all the war against the people.
They're all puppets for the Illuminati, and they all want their holy war. Let's not forget, Bashar al-Assad signed Agenda 2030. Not really Bashar, but his daddy Hafez.
Yeah, the fact they sign these contracts, it doesn't make them safe. I mean, they sign these contracts with these elites, but still, you can see what happens. Like, it doesn't actually bring them to power. I think it allows them maybe to rule for a few years longer. But yeah,
that's about it.
Yeah.
Look, Saddam is the poster child of what happens when you deal with the United States in the wrong manner. You're going to end up dead.
That goes again to these power concentrations in in Britain, in the Vatican, and in the USA.
Eat your popcorn again. Eat your popcorn, son. I was getting ready to buy. I was getting ready to get some this evening, so I could just enjoy the show.
Yeah, but if you go back to where real power is, we talk about Bitcoin and about fiat currencies. We talk about resources and what is the end goal. I mean, only people decide the actual value of these things, but with the resources, really the people who controls most of the resources decides what happens. And now you have this fight between fiat currencies and the resource-based people. But what should we prefer? I mean, we decide what our
the
money
end
is.
goal.
But money is
human slavery.
Oh, wait.
It's always been human slavery.
Wait. Money is not really worth anything, but we decide what it's worth. And if you replace this with like a resource-based thing, then it's really the country or the people who control most resources decide what is going to happen. So I'm not really sure what is the desirable goal for us. But
Well, I think Preston said this before: is there is no solution. That's the point. You are fucked no matter what you do.
yeah, I think so too. I don't know what the solution is. Like maybe self-sustainable. That is a solution.
That's the only realistic solution is to not contribute to society.
You don't
Watch
participate
that
in it.
word. Watch that word. Sustainable.
Oh God.
Yeah,
Watch that word.
if you grow your own food and you have your own energy and all these things, and you don't really need something from the outside, maybe that is your form of freedom. That's as far as it gets, maybe. But yeah, not anyone can do that. Not everyone can do that. I mean,
No. Especially city folks. I
Not
mean,
everyone can be awesome. Not everyone
I know,
can be the best.
huge
Some
skyscrapers
people
don't
gotta
have.
suck.
You don't have the room to grow your food in a huge skyscraper, so you can't be self-sustainable. You need other people to do it with you. So
Because they're afraid.
I just don't have the money to buy like a huge plot of land to grow like food, and yeah.
Well, then they can get some. It's not that hard, really. All you gotta do is believe in yourself, bro.
Well, that's the thing.
It may
It's
not
like
be enough, but it's
that's
something.
the thing. That's the thing. Is like there's a lot of people that have attempted this, and then you have men with boots telling you can't do it. You know, it's like there is no solution. The point is that you have a freedom. It's all a mind game. It's all
the
There's no
illusion.
physical
it's illusion.
solution,
Yes,
pretty much.
Yeah.
The illusion of
There's no
freedom.
physical solution. There's no political solution. There's no religious solution. The solution is spiritual.
Well, even that you can put your mind in some state where you try to believe that it's not
Spirit and
true. But
mind.
you're still in their control grid. At the end of
Yeah.
the day, you're in their system. You're in their control grid, and you ain't going nowhere.
Until you die.
Well, I mean, there's been people that's, there was a solution. He says, we just gather them up. There's about 2,000 of them around the world, and we huddle them up in a little cage, and we get guys, in a firing line, we kill them, and
Yeah. Well, it takes care of that part of the problem, but which is a big part of the problem. It's to get rid of all this Illuminati scum.
Yeah. Great deletion.
But I've even seen online campaigns. God bless them. For trying to attack the Illuminati online. But unfortunately, a lot of these people that are in the inner circle, you would never know who they are. The people that you think are players are not the players, and a lot of these people don't have real online presences. It's the people that you don't know that are actually in control.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, if you waterboard a few of them, Tyler, I think they'd cave in pretty easy. They're going to cough up some names real quick.
Yeah, but you got to know who it is. I mean, everybody thinks it's the Rockefellers and Rothschilds. No, these are cards. These are diversions. That there really are real people, that are in the inner circle that we don't know that exist.
We'll figure it out. Don't worry.
Rockefellers and Rothschilds are just pawns. They're all pawns.
Well, they're pretty high up, but they're not the top now. Of course, we don't know the top. I mean, yeah.
For all we know, it could be the Sultan of Brunei, or it could be somebody that we don't know. From these offshoot countries. I mean.
It's your space brother, man. He's got a flying saucer. He's a space brother. He's the guy in charge. He's the guy you don't see. Fucking with your mind.
Or if he's not an entity with a 6-figured head, with the head of a goat, 7 horns, 7 bloodshot eyeballs that glow.
Well, I could say that you might run into a few of them. If you just stand up in Sonoma, California, around about 40 days from now, you might run into a few of them.
They
The thing
all
that
work for the
California,
government.
the what is it, the cremation of care, that shit goes on. You might find
Oh,
yeah.
those guys.
Yeah, I don't understand. We don't have activists going up there, this summer, trying to get.
Whichever they are, they all worship the goat.
Well, yeah, that's
You mean
essentially what they do up there. Yeah,
that Bohemian Grove thing?
yeah.
Yeah, that's Mole. That's
All
Moloch.
world leaders worship the goat.
Yeah, well, this is a big
The
owl.
goat.
Well, actually, the owl, the owl was the original. It was the original logo for the Illuminati back in the 1770s, and the owl. They say that it's a deity revolving around to a West African god, which is kind of bullshit. But the owl also has. I've said this a few times. The owl is a sexual representation of the character from the Bible, which is known as Lilith, which is always represented as an owl, which kind of goes into that demonic shit. So what I'm saying is that that owl that is at the Bohemian Grove might actually be related to the symbol from the Illuminati. And what do they do at the Bohemian Grove? Orgies involving male and female prostitutes, kind of going along that way,
And they have sex with children, probably.
No, they do a mock child sacrifice.
It's sad. It's
Even
mocked.
worse.
Are we sure it's even mocked?
Worse. They all do it. They all get involved. Not just America, not just Britain. I'm talking about the G20 people.
Yeah,
Get in
essentially it is the world's international
And
makers.
all the world leaders, every single last one. They sign Agenda 21. They go to the Bohemian Grove and they sacrifice children. They probably do it by grabbing a knife and stabbing the baby.
Well,
There's a picture of that.
Well, they don't do it now, but I'm pretty sure at one point, because that society has been around since the 1880s. I'm pretty sure somewhere along the lines there were actual child sacrifices. I'm 99% sure of that.
Yeah, that has to do with the power thing too. That you're actually you feel like you're so in control and overpower over other people that you can do these things. You can just select children and kill them.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is just a power thing, and they feel so powerful. Like,
worshiping even if they gotta worship a goat to prove it.
But it's like all these Hollywood stars, man. You got to sell your soul to the devil.
It's not even just they can actually they do work hard to get to where they are, but the selling your soul to the devil thing is not really a way. It's not really how they get to that point to where they are.
Well,
it's about maintaining.
Well,
Yeah,
doing
I mean,
the devil,
maintain. You got to stay relevant. You better worship that devil.
Serving the devil and doing his bidding on the earth while you're still here, I think, is the ultimate goal.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of videos of these guys saying it. I mean, multiple stars saying they sold their soul to the devil. So I mean, it's not a joke, man. I mean, somewhere along the line they did it to get where they're at.
Or it's about they have to maintain it. It's about having to advance. You don't advance if you don't pay the toll.
Yeah, but does any of you actually believe in this? Does any of you actually believe in this devil, or do you think this is just a religion for rich people?
Well, they believe it.
They believe in the devil.
I wouldn't touch it.
We may not
believe
it.
You have no idea.
We may not worship the devil, but we may not worship the devil, but they do, and we're in their power grid, and we're in their religion. So we better study these people.
No,
we may not worship the devil. That's why I post about Satan, is because I may not worship this shit, but they do, and we're in their little religion, and so we better figure out their mindset.
Okay, but I believe that, like, I'm not religious at all, so I believe like the devil, like God, is part of this Christian religion, which is also a control system, and the fact that
God and Satan are one and the same.
so
Yeah.
if they believe in the devil and they believe in this Christian doctrine, that they are actually too being controlled or manipulated by
They're
this
one and the
religious.
same.
Well, they believe that they
God
believe.
and Satan are one and the same.
They believe that
They're
they
the
believe
same
that.
thing. It's a dialectic.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think
Hey,
these are all
well,
control systems. So
yeah, well, no. Here's the way I look at it. They're all these people. They're all very religious, just in different ways. You know, you call it satanic or Christian or whatever. You have different gods, but all these people are religious and believe in some supernatural being, right?
yeah.
There are dark occultists in the music industry as well. They're in every industry.
Well, a lot of
That's
it.
why. That's why you see a lot of people at the top above the Jesuit provincials is Lucifer, Satan, aka God. God and Satan are the same. It's still Lucifer. It's Lucifer at the end of the day.
Well, that's how they can trick you. You know, when they say they believe in God, they do. But the sleight of hand is it's not the same God that you believe in.
It's Lucifer.
Yeah, it's fake. Yeah, it's sleight of hand there.
But isn't that like a strange psychological thing? If these people think they are so powerful, why would these specific people believe in like some god above them or something? Like, it's also strange to me. Like, is there some specific reason? Like, have they really seen this god of them or something? Like, they believe they're so powerful. So,
And the whole God and Satan thing is a schizophrenic force. Where you can flood people and be a mass murdering psychopath, and on one hand, and on the other hand, you can give them things. You can give them a seat at the table. You can flood people and kill innocent people who haven't done anything wrong on one hand, but on the other, you can give them a house, a car, a big fat mansion, and some food to eat.
yeah.
Again, it's just the old switch and grab. It's the switch and go.
But don't you think that most of this is done like to blackmail these high up people? That this is like a blackmail kind of cult? Because I know, like I'm from Europe,
Probably.
and I'm from Europe, and I know that there is a mafia lord in Europe. He's a big coke mafia, and he organizes like these sex parties, and he invites all these big politicians and even princes to it, and he also invites like underage prostitutes and underage people, and he makes them have he lets them have sex with them and stuff, and he videotapes it, and later on he blackmails all of them.
It's a form of power and blackmail.
Holy shit!
Yeah, and this guy,
I wouldn't put it past him if they did.
Yeah, so this guy is just a mafia guy, and this happened. This is still going on, by the way.
That was a big thing with Anton LaVey. That's how Anton LaVey. Anton LaVey was the leader of the Satanic Church who brought the revival of Satanism into modern era in the popular field, and that what you're describing right there was how he kept it alive. Anton, if you know anything about Anton LaVey, he was a carny from Chicago. He was a fucking nobody. And then he read some fucking writings. In fact, if you look into the lore of where he pieced together this fucking modern satanic religion, it's brand new. It's nothing. It was pieced together from other shit. He slapstick together, but behind the scenes, and you'll see this with modern Satanists. The thing that they do, they're not doing what you would call the atypical fucking like satanic thing where you are doing the devil's bidding on earth. No, what they're doing is they're gathering people, worshiping the devil, and having fucking huge orgies. That's what they're doing. And
they videotape it all.
Not even just that. It's also some philosophy.
Well, I mean,
it's the philosophy.
I wouldn't recommend. I wouldn't recommend anyone. Go ahead.
They peddle bullshit, but they don't. The followers better not believe it. They peddle the New Age movement, but your followers better not believe it. You better not believe that shit. Don't believe the shit you peddle. We know we don't. It's also a mindset, and that's why I say a lot of Christians are actually mini-me Satanists in disguise. It can come in many different forms, bro. A lot of them are mini-me Satanists in disguise. That's why even a lot of people who say they're for truth, they start worshiping the state. They still worshiping the state. There's a lot of mini-me Satanism going on in there. The authoritarian mindset is mini-me Satanism. That's it. That's all it really is. It's a pretense.
It is a criminal cult, like you said, Preston, because like these Masons and that Masonry too, like you have these different levels and stuff, and I think it has to do with blackmail mostly because I know that we have like a former Queen Beatrix of my country, and she never went to any of these buildings ever. She was instated as a 33rd degree Mason without doing anything. She's like that's like royalty, and they don't even have to be in this entire cult, and they're just highest level whenever they want. So I'm thinking like these normal politicians who get into these cults, I think it has to do with like a control system for these people and blackmail, and I don't think these real royalty don't care about it at all. Like I think it's like for their highest guards.
I think it's mostly the authoritarian. It's not even just the controllers. It's the people. It's the niggas that adopt the controllers' mindset. It's people who adopt the controllers and these Satanist way of thinking. And they add a little pretense of morality. They spray you with the morality, right? We gotta spray it with. Hey, don't do this, don't steal a candy bar. Meanwhile, these motherfuckers are doing exactly what we were talking about. Satanic rituals. Satanic rituals like worshiping the devil, having sex with orgies, and bombing innocent civilians, waging war on people. Meanwhile, we get yelled at for stealing a candy bar.
Robin Metzger says no women allowed in Masons. That's not true. Yeah, Ida just said the Order of the Eastern Star is the women equivalent to the Masons.
Hillary Clinton is a member of the Order of the Eastern Star.
Yeah.
Not to mention for the fact there's the Rainbow Girls.
There are more.
Paul's daughter is Ron Paul's kids are Rainbow Girls.
Huh? Ron Paul?
Ron Paul is in on it too.
Wasn't he supposed to be the savior politician that was going to save us? But then, like, yeah, remember that?
Not Ron Paul, man.
You remember that?
Come on, man. He's pro-Zionist, nigga. He is pro-Jew. He's pro-Israel.
Not Ron Paul.
Yeah.
Rand Paul maybe, but not Ron.
Yeah,
Paul.
Ron Paul. Ronnie boy. He's pro-Zionist. He's one of them, man. The one thing these people don't understand, they're all in the cult.
Yeah, he wouldn't be running for he wouldn't be running for president if he wasn't in some way involved with them. But yeah,
he's involved.
Well, you see how he treat him, though. It's not like he's
respects the Freemasons. Duh. He's pro-Zionist. Look it up.
I did like him a lot, Ron Paul. Whatever he said was and the fat too. He said a lot of good things too. But yeah, I get what you're saying. You have to be
again. The saviors. There is no saviors. We're by ourselves.
Yeah, that's true. But you do have to like actually judge what they say. Of course, I mean.
Oh, really? I don't care what they say. I don't care. But this is where I get ignorant. I don't even care even when I look at what they say. Because I feel whatever it is, at least you know we're good, bro. Know we're good, bro. Because I'm enjoying all of you. For real. I'm glad to be on the show.
I think with some things we went a little too far for the average listeners, but it's nice to
Whatever,
talk about.
dude. They have to listen. They have to listen to it.
Yeah.
They had to. Next time I go, and I'm gonna go all in. I wasn't really prepared the first time. You see.
Yeah, but you know that not everyone is actually like researching all these things, and it will sound like maybe these people are like crazy to some people.
We've
But,
done our research.
Yeah, but then again, I go
Yeah.
all out. Then again, I go all out. My crew is best known. I'm known that my crew best for going all out.
Yeah,
I'm
well,
more of an extremist.
but you can say anything you want on here. Like you could you were not like censored or whatever. So yeah.
Yeah, we have no filter.
I don't like
so.
to get censored. I don't like censorship. Censorship is, of course, I'm not going to say Satanism, but it's close to that. It is more so their way of saying, hey, you better not say that shit on camera because you have a clause. You signed this clause here. You promise not to say that on camera. That's what a lot of stars in these kids shows do. That's why I don't watch kids shows no more. Because one is targeted for children, and two, they think children are stupid enough not to. They say they don't have to hear bad words. If they're mature enough and they've been around, or if they've been around the swearing, of course, nigga, they're gonna say bad words. What do you expect? They go on Xbox Live all the time. And believe me, I may have played Xbox, but I haven't been on Xbox Live. But I can guarantee you, if you watch a couple Arby and the Chief episodes, you'll find out what the online gaming world is like. It's fun, but it's crazy sometimes. Y'all ever watch John CJG? Now we're switching to fun subjects, right? Y'all ever watch John CJG?
No, I don't know what that is.
I have. And it gives me a good explanation.
Now, is that on
good
YouTube? What
analysis
is that?
on how the internet life is like. Specifically online gaming. Online gaming is great, but it's crazy. The personalities you get to meet up with. Crazy.
Hell, you meet him on Facebook.
Yeah, you meet them anywhere. It's like,
Army and Achievement, that isn't it? You think that's not really Call of Duty? That's actually Halo. Is a Halo machine.
Well, you know what I think about a lot of online things, in gaming is a mindless what is it called? Mindless self delusion or whatever the fuck I used to say. It's getting tired, but
Mindless self-delusion. Well, that could be.
yeah.
I've been a gamer myself at one point. At one point, I wanted to play nothing but Sonic. Well, my brother got me into Halo.
Yeah, but don't you think that the game designers design the games to be addictive on purpose?
Nah, I don't know on purpose.
I don't know.
Yeah, gaming was already infiltrated by people who play not by the creators of Call of Duty.
Well, you got the MMO games where people all they want to do is live in this fantasy delusional world, and they don't want to deal with the real world. I mean, that's some serious fucking. Like when they found out on what was it? I think it was Sky or World of Warcraft or Skyrim, whatever the fuck it was. When they realized that people didn't want to have a game that they could beat, they designed a game that you can't beat, and all you would do is quests to keep you perpetually in the game and perpetually having that monthly subscription to keep you locked into this fucking zone where you're just playing the game.
I don't really play those types of games though.
Yeah, I mean, don't you think those kind of games are like done by design to kind of keep the, you know what I mean?
Yeah, to suck you in, kind of keep
Now
you.
Now that I think about it, yeah, but I can see why the people who are attracted to those types of games. You know, why a lot of these people get attracted to these types of games. Maybe anxiety, broken heart, perhaps.
Lazy.
Girls broke their heart and shit. I can understand. I can sympathize with that. People not wanting to understand the truth of what we're talking about. People not wanting to understand what we're talking about. They feel that they're misunderstood, and they feel as though human interaction is not going to change their predicament. In fact, they feel as though human interaction exacerbates it, makes it worse. So they turn to social media, Call of Duty, MMO, or whatever. No disrespect to the gamers. I love gamers, man. I love all gamers, man. But I'm starting to think y'all gotta have a point. I don't know, man. This is me.
Well, everything in moderation. That used to be the motto. I mean, it didn't
Yeah.
matter what you were doing. You're drinking or drugs or anything. You can do all of it, but you can't do it to the extreme. It can't be the only thing you do. That's where these kids get in a wrong problem. It's all they do. They don't go outside to play. They don't work. They don't do anything else. They're fucking with their phone all day.
Even the phone is in moderation. I do the phone in moderation. When I get back into gaming, I might probably binge on it, but not too much. That's my goal. One of my goals, get back into video gaming, to get back in that clause.
Well, it takes a lot of time too. I mean,
that's one of my dreams. That's one of them. I have a whole other dreams. I have a whole slew of other dreams, but that's one of my main focuses. Because I need something to keep me sane from going, because I feel like, again, the feeling no one really understands you as a person. That's what it comes down to. The feeling that nobody understands you or us as a people. The feeling of feeling alone.
well,
That's what drives them.
It's not that they don't understand. They don't care about you. That's why they don't want to understand. They don't even give a shit about you. They don't want to know you. Not just you. I mean, everybody. I mean, it's just that they don't. They're self-indulgent. They want everybody to look at them, look at me, but they don't care about you, or anybody else.
Yeah, that's what turns people to social media and shit like that. That's exactly what turned me to this. It was like it's like no one really gets me. No one really feels what I'm saying. No one really, not even my parents, to be honest with you. And they're upstairs in that room over there. Just anyway, they not even they understand me. So I was like, so I had no other choice. I tried going to a therapist to talk about this, but
going to a therapist.
Going to a therapist is literally. And what I got is this big ass fucking lecture.
Yeah, I was gonna say going to a therapist is like throwing your money away. There's been, and I have said this, I'm gonna probably get a lot from this. It's highly debatable on how talk therapy actually helps a person. You know.
Yeah, and one of my grandparents told my parents, and all I got was not really help and understanding, but a big ass fucking lecture, even a threat that if I even go and research the Illuminati, if I even research New World Order again, my computer privileges will be revoked. That's all I got. They told me, if you research the truth again, we're taking your computer privileges. We want you to live in the illusion. We want you to live in bullshit. We don't want you to, if I catch you researching truth and freedom again, you're out of here. That's all I got.
Ah, damn.
If I catch you researching truth and freedom and find out what's really going on in the world, we're going to beat your ass and we're going to take your computer privileges from you. You're not going to see that thing again. No help.
Yeah. In a twisted way, you could argue that they're trying to help you because the truth in an empire of lies is not going to work very good.
Yeah.
They want you to believe that they want me to believe in the illusion. The illusion is what's important to them right now.
Can't you just suspend belief and cognitive and using cognitive dissonance get there? You can't do that. How come?
Their heads are gonna remain up their asses until they grow old and die, dude. I'm sorry. What is your name again?
Preston.
Preston. And I see you're rocking that anarcho-capitalist thing. I'm just regular old anarchist. That's all I am. I'm not those Antifa fags. I just rock the regular anarchist flag, just black, just color black.
Well, yeah, that was a common misconception. That's something that's fairly recent in the Anon culture, whereas the merging of Antifa and Anons, but old fags know that Anonymous is not Antifa. In fact, they're very distinct.
Antifa Antifa does not even exist. It's
Well,
almost as real as ISIS.
It's been around since the 30s. It's actually communism.
It's communist. Yeah.
Yeah.
They don't even know who they are. Well, they are anti-fascist, but what they don't know is
that they're communists.
Yeah. They're a little slow. They'll figure it out.
Antifa are all communists, just like MAGA. They're all alt-right fascists. Fascism and communism is the same thing. They all want. They're both illuminists.
I would say it's communism was built on utopian values. Similar to what what the colonists wanted here in America, is just that we went down a completely different path. But yeah, the utopian ideals never actually pan out because real world people have real world problems. There's always one motherfucker who wants to be on top and control everything. So yeah, they never none of the political structures ever pan out ever.
You get a little more of I will say with fascism, you get more of a corporate look to it. You get more of a kind of a Western style economy and all that.
That's because humans are. That's because humans don't know how to change from the inside. That's it.
Yeah, a lot of people don't even know that we don't have a democracy. We have a republic. 90% of Americans think we have a democracy. In fact, democracy is the worst form of government ever.
Democracy, actually, if you could take demon Kratos, democracy is demonic frequency. It's demons, bro.
Democracy has its roots in what is it, Roman times, and
Greek.
What happened. What happened is that
the joke.
We are having the same problems in America that the Greeks had at the height of their empire. In fact, there's a good book you should probably read. It's called The Rise and Fall of Empires, a Survival Guide by Sir Francis, whatever the fuck, I can't remember. It's about a 19-page book, and it describes how empires rise and fall. And there are a few criteria that always happens. It's at the end, it's the love of money and a lack of sense of duty. And these are it's an atypical trait when you know an empire is about to fall. And that's what we're seeing in the EU, and we're also seeing it, with the American empire. And what it's laying a pretext is just putting it out there. There's a new world order.
Conspiracy theorist.
I know, right?
You're a conspiracy theorist. Oh, you're an anarchist? Oh, you're talking about spirituality? Oh my God, get that shit out of here. Yeah, anarchy in the political sense, by the way. They only can work in the spiritual. Anarchism can only work in the mind and in the spiritual. It can only work within. Once you can work that shit
I think
within,
somebody
then you
asked
can work it
what
out.
does a non-hacker do to help? Well, you can always fight the system in nonchalant ways. You can always try and use the system to fight the system, which is never going to work. Or you
or
could
just do, or
I know
either
what.
self-reflection or the great deletion.
I think the greatest
It,
the greatest empowerment is to be aware that it's actually going on. That's got to be the greatest thing. And spread the knowledge. Is
yeah.
being aware, just being aware. That's step one. Step two, you actually got to do something about it.
Yeah,
Yeah, but well, that's where it breaks down though. A lot of times, see that people get scared, they get aware, and then they go, "Oh my God, this is like so huge and bigger than they thought and scary," that they just
I
fall
don't
back
get
and they
like
go,
that.
"Fuck it," they ain't gonna do it. They ain't gonna fight it. They get scared.
I didn't like that. I didn't like that.
A lot of
I
people.
already have because I already have a death wish type mindset at this point.
Well, if I had
It might be big and scary. It might be big and bigger than I thought. But hey, I like big challenges. I like it. Bring it.
if I had all the answers to the solution, I would have done it years ago. But being an activist, for a long time, if I had all the answers to these real world problems, I would have told you already. But I can tell you ways that we've attempted to over the years, And I think being aware is probably the best tool that you've got. At least you know that you're getting fucked up. At least you know what is going on around you, and that always gives you that edge to what comes next.
It's a
Not
red
even
light.
just what's going on. The whole concepts. The concepts. You gotta do the concepts that we all hold. We all hold. The system forces us to behold. The best way, if you're really aware, is you gotta delete them. You see that. You also have the system within you. We gotta delete the elite that's inside of you.
Yeah,
You
and in a
gotta
real world sense,
delete the
we need
concepts
to
for your
delete.
mind.
Yeah, we actually, it's a prison for your mind, just like the Matrix. But not in another
We have to
aspect,
bring our own minds in.
we actually have to get rid of our masters. Our
Yeah.
monetary.
Then we can get rid of our masters.
Yeah.
That's what I like to call the great deletion.
Yeah, it needs to happen.
We need to delete these motherfuckers. We need to delete the dark occult.
Well,
I think Sam Gold actually had a way to do it because he saw the Baphomet as not only the source, he also saw it as the power source for the Matrix that we all live in. So he had this fantasizing idea, kicking in the door with a pistol, with a MAC-10, blowing the Baphomet's brains out, and then causing this negative little chain reaction that happened when you killed the Baphomet, you destroy the system, and this whole thing collapses in
Well,
itself. In the House of Cards.
You know what Baphomet represents in the occult world, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the master. Baphomet is the master of knowledge, mathematics, and magic. And if you understand that, then you know where the enemy is coming from. You know where these psychopaths. We know what they believe in. They believe that they can control society and enslave us, thinking that that we're not even aware that we're in a cage.
It's their psychopathy.
Yeah.
It's a outward expression of their inner psychopathy.
And I was just using Satan as a representation of this. It's like this demon that's actually the source of it. And he thought, hey, kill a demon, the whole system gonna crash. It's like pulling a house of cards. Pull one, the whole thing falls out of place. Pull one domino, the whole thing collapses on its own weight. You will see a ripple effect.
Well, the problems that we're facing now, with what you're talking about, this has been going on since the beginning of time. These people have been around since the pyramids. The Sumerians. They've been around for a while. they've perfected it. You know.
Yeah. Here's the thing. They are so weak and pathetic that you could take them down easily if you just tried. But the average Joe is so cowardly and so pathetic that you can't get there. That's how shameful the average person.
Good point, Preston.
What is going on?
Good point, Preston.
They won't do it.
Good point, Preston. Not even a whole lot of the nons will do it. That's how sad it is.
Well, you know, you'd be out there protesting a sign, you know, and then for every one guy out there, there's like 10 or 20 people that are supporting you, but they're not actually with you. They're just like, hey, yeah, when those cuts come on, you know, you're out there. I'll support you.
Cheering, nigga. Come on, feel with me. Why are you doing sitting there cheering on the bar? My nigga, I saved you a spot. Just come run and feel with me.
Well, they know, they know that you're not useful once you're behind bars, and that's kind of what they want, you know.
And all you've done is fall into the system. I mean, it's
you gotta delete them. Delete all the motherfuckers. They gots to go.
You know, that's what we've seen. You know, with their enforcers. I call them the police. They're enforcers. You know, they've literally become militaristic, and that's done by design. You know.
Oh yeah.
You know, you challenge authority, and then you're met with boots on the ground with fucking tanks and fucking machine guns, and that's literally become our police force. You know, those new fucking SWAT.
I challenge
yeah. They mean, you know.
I challenge. Here's my message to the Pope boy. I challenge the Pope to a boxing because he can't beat us intellectually.
He was trained. He was trained by the Nazis.
Yeah, you better watch out, man. I mean,
yeah, he took Nazi money. That's true. Yeah, the Pope did take Nazi money.
He's going to hit you with his mitre hat, and you're going to be fucked up, man.
This current Pope was in the Hitlerjugend even. I mean, he was trained like an elite soldier. So.
Holy shit.
Oh, Francis? No, that was the other one.
It's a Ratzinger. This one is Ratzinger.
Yeah.
Either Pope Paul or Pope Benedict.
Well, we got two popes right now. I mean, we're just blessed with two popes. Can you imagine that? I mean,
two popes. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? The black? They're talking about the black.
Maybe I can chant the vote.
Oh yeah, you got the pope.
Which one my favorite, man? Which one my favorite?
You mean the?
He can't beat us intellectually. He might be able to beat us physically. I can tell you that he might. He'll have more. We'll have a fighting chance. There.
He's going to beat you over the head with his staff.
No shit.
And he's putting up any shit. Some of them diamonds are going to hit you in the head. They're hard.
Damn. And I might even do extra trigger.
You know what's a trippy
gold
shit?
And all them diamonds.
You know what's the trippiest thing is that the Catholic religion is the only religious institution in the world that actually has its own country. You know, that says a lot. You know.
Yeah.
That says a lot. Yeah.
The Vatican.
Yeah, they call it the Holy See, which is that's nickname, but the Vatican is its own independent country. You know, even though it's
Holy See.
Yeah.
And the papacy. The papal bloodlines.
You got to launder that bank money somewhere. I mean, come on. Yeah, everything on the up and up.
There's no point in wasting the bank money. I'll find a way to put it somewhere.
Well,
That's exactly how it's used. That area like the Vatican, of course.
Well, they don't have to answer to any authority because they're their own government. You know, they have their own. They have their own country.
If you're going to write your own ticket, for thievery, they've done it. It's like we give ourselves the right to do whatever the fuck we want. I mean, that's a pretty good deal. If you can get away with it, that's a hell of a deal.
Yeah, but they don't even have an army. I mean, it's all done by consent. People accept it. So, yeah.
How about them Swiss guards?
Yeah, they do. They do have protection in that aspect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't even beat their ass, bro. Thanks for correcting me. Thanks for looking out for me, Preston.
Yeah, I mean, he'll stick a pike in you.
Yeah.
Oh, those things? Yeah.
I can't even beat their ass.
That's not good.
They get little
That's just
few holes poked in.
they're that protected. Are you serious, man? They are that protected. In that case, I might probably need some extra training.
Yeah, and then these are the guys that lecture you about walls and everything. You know, walls are
Oh,
bad.
come on, they built
Except
a
when they want to
wall.
build one 30 feet thick, then it's okay. You know.
They're the Vatican. They're hypocrites. They do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Vatican is like this perfect example of how corrupt the global elite is, right? Because that these people were collaborating with the Nazis in World War II.
Yeah.
They openly
yeah.
said like kill all the Jews and stuff because the Jews they deserve it and that all stuff. And why was the Vatican like not freed from these people? Like, so if you free Europe, like that's already.
It's almost like anyone who likes to blame the Jews. The Jews had a big hand in it, but they're not all responsible.
No, there's a big difference between Zionism and Judaism. Big difference.
Yeah, you're talking about Zionism, the political movement.
Orthodox.
Zionism.
Yeah.
They're the ones that helped knock down the tower. Everybody knocked down the towers, not just the Zionists. It's International Secret Intelligence Service.
You just look at who benefits from these things, and that's just very easy to see, you know, these things. So,
Yeah.
Well, we paid for them. I mean, you know, Brown Bank. What was it? Brown Harriman.
America,
You know,
Israel, Britain, and Russia, and Saudi Arabia, especially Israel, they were the main ones.
Well,
They were the main ones.
yeah, but there's a lot of there's a lot of Jews in Israel that don't support Zionism. There are rabbis that are activists, that are protesting the government there too. So it's not like they're when people say that the Jews are responsible. There are Jews. There are actually quite a few Jews out there that don't support the state. It's turning into a totalitarian government.
Jews were rebelling. Props to them.
Well,
Jews were rebelling.
but if you live in Israel, you don't have the option of not serving in their corporate military. You don't have a choice. And if you're born there, then you have to be a part of the system.
Even the girls.
Well, they even got to the point where if you have a physical or mental handicap, you still serve in the military. They just make you sew pillows or whatever. But everybody has to serve over there.
God damn it! And why is that? I may ask.
well, they only got so many people.
So they can go kill Palestinians. That and a couple other people. But they gotta kill Palestinians. That's talking about right there. Gotta get rid of those Arabs. And it costs money too.
Yeah,
you gotta deal with the Dark Lord himself.
Well,
the difficult question, the Israel question, is difficult because it actually also benefits the globalists if it disappears, but it also benefits the globalists now because it's like a
here's
base.
the sad part.
Yeah.
The Palestinian president also sold out his people. Yep.
Oh.
Abbas.
Yeah, Hamas.
Also signed Agenda 2030.
Well, not only that, Hamas has, is an Iranian, has ties to Iran, and you only see Hamas in Gaza. You don't see it out in the West Bank settlements, and the Palestinians that are in Gaza. I could go on hours for this, but the Palestinians in Gaza that live there have it worse off than that live out in the West Bank. I could do a whole nother show about this, but
that's what really woke me
well,
up.
it's worse. It's worse for if you live in Gaza because you can't leave Gaza. There's nowhere to go. You can't go by sea. You can't go by air because there is no airport. You can't go to Egypt because Egypt won't let you in. You can't go to Israel. You can't go to the north border. Because the only way to get out of there is if you need medical treatment or you barter and pay somebody off. It's like you're trapped in a fucking 20-mile fucking cage, So it's pretty bad out there,
That's what really woke me up. the whole Palestine, Syria, the Middle East. And it was like, oh, the Middle Easterners are bad. But that until I got a whole entirely look at the Middle Eastern people. You know, I was like, holy shit.
Hey guys, we got 3 minutes.
3 minutes left. Okay.
I'm like, holy shit, dude.
Uh,
I'm like, what are we doing to these people? Stop fucking with these people. They're already suffering enough as it is. Leave these people alone. Well, at least help them get out of their condition. Don't start wars with them.
I didn't actually.
Then again, it's like their own leaders are helping the global elite as well, as I realized in 2017.
Go ahead, Tyler.
I didn't account for how much buffering we have, and I don't know because of the whole technical
What's
glitch.
going on, dude?
I don't know when we're gonna go off live, so we should wrap it up right now.
Man.
Yeah.
You refit it, man.
Yeah.
Say goodbye to the listeners.
All right, goodbye, listeners. Hope y'all enjoyed me dropping knowledge in my crazy ass ramblings too. And I also expect some flaming in the comments.
And we will be back next Thursday. I don't know who our guest is. I'm pretty sure we might. There's a few people in mind that we might have for next week. But stay tuned, and we will have a full cast then. See you at the same time at 6:45 p.m. Pacific time, and we will catch you later.
Flame the comment section.
Thanks for listening.
Thank you for listening, homies. Sure.
Assembled. Join me